Drive time, Monday afternoon, 7 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. It has turned into a nice day after a chilly morning where it was cold and rainy in Salt Lake City. Well, where we're at right now, it's about 55 degrees and clear and sunny. Where we are at, once again, and again, as I said last time I was up here, anybody who knows me, if you ask them, hey, what's Spence like? The first thing they're going to say is he loves himself some RVs. And I am inside an RV. I'm doing a radio show on Monday afternoon from inside an RV. If you want to come hang out, we're back at the Layton Hills Mall with our good friends at Paris RV. The sale has been extended because more inventory has been delivered. So due to the successful weekend events, RV manufacturers have sent more inventory to the Layton Hills Mall for the RV liquidation event. We're talking repos, buybacks, rental returns, and trade-ins. Toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent trailers, and motorhomes. I could definitely go down that list and tell you the difference between each one, but I won't. I'll let the experts do that. All priced to sell this week at blowout pricing. Every RV is prepped and includes a battery and propane. My security guard, Cynthia, is here, and my watchdog, Duke, is here. He's not much of a watchdog, but if you've ever wanted to meet our station mascot, Duke is in the house, wandering around, wondering what's going on. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Great weekend for the local college football scene, for the most part. University of Utah with another bounce-back win. Man, that game was over at halftime. It was fun to go down there and be on the sidelines with some of the former Ute players. And, of course, Porter was in the house. OC was in the house, and a fun night at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Saw Utah bounce back in a major way, 53-7. Of course, we will talk about that game on the program today and look ahead to what should be, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, an exciting weekend coming up against Cincinnati as College Game Day will be in town. Now, I say it should be a good weekend because the last few times either College Game Day or Big Noon was here, Utah has not played all that well when the spotlight has been as bright as it has been. So, hoping for better things ahead. We'll get into both the recap of the game on Saturday night and a preview of what is to come for another late kick. I know, not thrilled about that. But only 4 more games left for the Utah football team in the regular season. And quite frankly, mathematically, the numbers are difficult for this team to overcome to get to Arlington, but not impossible. And we're going to talk about why there's a potential for a Holy War rematch in the Big 12 championship game coming up on the show today. Now, if you're a Ute fan, the sad reality is you have to cheer hard for BYU. After a bye week, they're going to be taking on Texas Tech, and BYU with another miraculous comeback. I will tell you what, there's nothing fluky about, I think it's 19-2 in their last 21. There's nothing fluky about an 8-0 football team or an undefeated football team in conference play, but my goodness, for the second straight year, BYU has been on the right side of a lot of fortuitous bounces. Maybe God's a football fan. Maybe it's time to keep that into consideration. I know in the past I've said he's not, but I'm starting to become a believer. And maybe BYU's football program is an example of why when you do the right things on and off the field, magic happens. 41-27 in Ames after they were down early, 24-10. It didn't look good, and they just stormed back. Utilized some horrible Iowa State miscalculations and mistakes. Wide open touchdown passes dropped. A unbelievable muffed punt that took me like 10 replays to see exactly how that went down. And credit Kalani Sitake and the BYU Cougars. They are atop the Big 12 standings. They move up in the AP to number 10 as the Utah Utes have moved back into the AP at number 24. Now BYU on a bye before a massive game against Texas Tech. The two best teams in the Big 12 right now probably are Tech and BYU. Utah's still there, man. Just a few mistakes against Brigham Young. There's a reason why all last week I said that BYU loss is going to sting for a number of different reasons. And the main reason, in my opinion, if BYU and Utah played football on a neutral field 10 times this year, I think Utah would win probably 7 of them. But the mistakes are what they are. The play calling was what it was, and BYU marches on. And Utah still very much in the thing. And a massive game coming up on Saturday with College Game Day in town. So we'll get to all the angles, talk some BYU, talk some Utah, talk some Big 12. the weekend behind us in the Big 12 and the week ahead in the Big 12 and the national college football landscape as well. A lot of big jobs are open now that Brian Kelly has been fired at LSU. When you look at the number of massive college football jobs open, it is pretty stunning as far as how many coaches will be getting new gigs when this carousel rolls around. Arkansas, Florida, Oklahoma State, Penn State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, and, of course, LSU. So we'll get into it on the program today as far as all these coaching jobs that either are or could come open when it comes to the rumor mill. We have the hottest team in the National Hockey League existing in our market. That is your Utah Mammoth, who have won 7 straight hockey games. And Dylan Guenther is off to a historic start to the season. And if you extend it back to last season, the start of last season to today, Dylan Guenther has 13 game-winning goals, which is the most in pro hockey. Another game winner over the weekend against a really, really good team, Winnipeg. And now the Utah Mammoth find themselves atop the Central Division of the Western Conference and atop the Western Conference overall with 16 points. As a result of this win streak, they're going to be in Edmonton coming up tomorrow night. And we're going to start our Behind the Glass segment with Neil Smith coming up relatively soon as we are approaching the end of the college football season, which is wild to consider. The Utah Jazz back in action tonight. They lost to maybe the weirdest roster in the NBA, the Sacramento Kings, since you and I last spoke. They're going to welcome in the Phoenix Suns tonight. I've said it throughout the course of the NBA preseason. I will maintain it. This is going to be probably the most fun season for this Utah Jazz team since Mitchell, Gobert, and Quinn and that group were either ousted or decided they did not want to work for this ownership group and left on their own accord. There are a lot of things to like about this Jazz team, but they did lose to Sacramento, who has this weird combination of like decent or age perimeter players. They play all at once. At one point, like Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, Dennis Schroeder, and DeMar DeRozan were on the floor together. Obviously, they still have the Domo Sabonis kid who's really good. But the Jazz played pretty well. It was another inefficient shooting game for Keontae George. All the conversation about his improvement has not manifested yet, but Lowry was really, really good. Bryce Sensabaugh came off the bench and had a good game, and the Jazz will be back at it against the Phoenix Suns tonight, a Phoenix Suns team that is very much in transition. So pro basketball is back. The Jazz are back, and excited to cover them this year and see what this young team can do. The season came to a close for Real Salt Lake last week with a loss against Portland. I am told we'll have an RSL announcement coming our way this week, a sizable one, and we'll be able to bring that to you at some point. We'll let you know kind of how that goes down. Your Week 8 of the NFL will come to a close tonight with what should be a good Monday night football game featuring the Washington Commanders without Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota under center for Washington. They're at Arrowhead against, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. So Monday Night Football tonight, a lot of local players making plays over the weekend, including one, Tyler Huntley, getting the start for the Ravens in their win against the Bears. Broncos curb stomped the Cowboys, and Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers fell short as he played against his old team, the Green Bay Packers. But a lot of pro football on the show, some college football on the show today. A lot to do on this Monday afternoon. We appreciate you making us a part of your day. Our first guest today will be former Utah quarterback Scott Mitchell, of course, who's now on our broadcast team. We'll get Scott's takeaways from Utah's win over Colorado. We'll look ahead to Cincinnati as College Game Day will descend upon our market. So Scott will join us right out of the gates. Jason Pataki, Salt Lake Tribune, will join us at 3 o'clock. This young man is doing an excellent job on the Utah beats. Talk more Utes with Jason. Coming up at 3:30 today, as we do every single Monday following a Utah game, as long as there is a game the next week. Kyle Whittingham addressed the media today. We'll bring that to you at 3:30. The voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, is our guest, coming up at 4 o'clock. And then at 4:30, Stormy Buatani is going to join us. She's the sideline reporter for ESPN who was here in Salt Lake on Saturday night. Was able to meet her. She's a very, very, very nice person and very good at her job. So we'll get her takeaways from Utah's win over Colorado. Scott Mitchell, Jason Batacchio, Kyle Whittingham, Bill Riley, Stormy Buatani, me, Spence Checketts. Live in Layton, we're selling RVs today. Come on by and say what's up. They've extended the sale as a result of a very successful weekend last weekend. More inventory has been delivered. You can go to UtahRVEvent.com Or you can just stop by the Layton Hills Mall. ESPN 700 van is right out front. You can't miss us. Come on in and say hello. You can meet Duke, our station mascot, and check out some of these great RVs that are priced to move and includes a battery and a propane. Porter Larson, the executive producer of this show.
Yo.
Good to see you on the sideline Saturday night, man. That was quite a game.
Likewise. Always good to see you down there. And, before it gets too cold at Rice Cycles, November, later on, one of those picturesque nights in the stadium. And, of course, when the team plays like that, Spence, and I'm talking about a 400-plus yard advantage at halftime, the most so far this season by any team in any half in any game of college football. It sets up for a pretty good night. And as you mentioned, it was an alumni event, so a bunch of former Utes, former NFL guys were on the sideline to catch up with.
Yeah, it was great to see all those guys down there. Our guy Trevor Riley sporting a fedora. Knife Fotu in the mix. Zach Moss. It was good to see Zach. It always is. So a fun night, Saturday night, Rice Eccles Stadium. Our first guest today, right out of the gates, will be Scott Mitchell, former Utah quarterback, now a member of our broadcast team. But before we catch up with Scott, on a Monday afternoon, it is time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN 700 and run your game with Prize Picks.
You guys already know Prize Picks is the best way to win cash on football, whether it's the Broncos or the Niners or the Cowboys, but also basketball is here. Best place to win cash on the Jazz or the Knicks or the Lakers or the Warriors, whatever your favorite team is. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks now offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tabs on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use that promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, promo code ESPN700 to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, Saturday night, Rice Eccles Stadium. Beautiful evening, by the way. Turned out to be really nice. I'm afraid it was going to be a little chilly come kick time, but it was about 58, 60 degrees. Really, really nice. Great crowd. Alumni night. As the kids would say, the vibes are high. Once again, we weren't sure who was going to start under center for quarterback at the University of Utah, as, of course, the availability report continues to be an unserious endeavor for Kyle Whittingham and his staff. Pete Thamel breaking the news earlier on Saturday that Devin Dampier had been upgraded to probable. And then prior to kickoff, the news broke that under center would be young Bird Ficklin. And my goodness, was he dynamic. A total of 291 yards overall, responsible for 3 touchdowns, scored right out of the gates, a 2-play drive right out of the gates. And you could tell that this was going to be a mismatch. Now, Colorado, of course, if you lose an NFL quarterback in Shedeur Sanders and the Heisman Trophy winner and Travis Hunter, you won't be the same team you were a year ago. But this is not like West Virginia, right? Like Utah trounced West Virginia earlier in the year. West Virginia stinks. And Colorado's not good. I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying this is not a team on that level. They had come off a win against Iowa State. Then they entered a bye week. They were without a number of different pieces, but this was not a fair fight. And Deion Sanders himself said as much after the game, acknowledging that they got their butt whooped. And quite frankly, this could have been like 80-0, okay? The only touchdown Colorado scored was against the third-team defense for Utah. Wayshawn Parker goes over 100 yards for the first time all year. It feels like it'd be nice to see him get some more touches. When he is loose and healthy, he is dynamic. It was the second biggest rushing performance in Utah football history. And for a football team that has made their way and their money rushing the football more often than not, that's not nothing. It was the largest margin of defeat in the 72-game history of Utah, Colorado, and it was over early. There was really no reason to even watch the second half, as it was 43-0 at halftime, and Colorado had minus 18 yards of offense. So again, Colorado not who they were a year ago. A lot of work to do as far as improving probably both sides of the ball. But Utah, once again, just bullied an opponent. Utah, as far as the Big 12 honors this week, offensive line of the week in the Big 12. I believe that is the 4th honor for this O-line. Bird Ficklin, offensive player of the week and also freshman of the week. So Utah was able to grab some Big 12 honors throughout the course of their trouncing of Colorado over the weekend. So now we look ahead to what could come our way on Saturday as College Game Day is in town. Now, College Game Day, Big 12 or Big Noon kickoff, the lights being as bright as they have been with these shows have not necessarily translated to great performances from Utah in the past. I believe they're 1-3 when game day is in town. But it'll be fun. I mean, it's always an entertaining atmosphere when the biggest, and with all due respect to Big Noon, and we're going to talk a little NBA broadcast coming up in a bit, but one of the things that I really like about what Amazon, our buddy Travis Henderson, who was with the Jazz for 32 years, like ESPN has clearly, with their NBA coverage, they've tried to copy inside the NBA on TNT with Ernie Johnson and Shaq and Chuck and Kenny and that group. You cannot copy what they do. And ESPN has tried, and they have failed miserably. ESPN's NBA coverage is honestly pathetic, and I think it's because it's inauthentic, and it's just not good. Amazon ultimately is doing their own thing, and I think the first early returns of their broadcast on Friday night were really, really positive because they're being unique and doing their own thing. And with all due respect to Big Noon and, friend of the program Rob Stone and Urban Meyer and such, like they're just trying to copy Game Day because Game Day set the standard. So make no mistake, College Game Day is the preeminent pregame show. College Game Day is the preeminent pregame show in college football. And so to have it here in Salt Lake should be really, really fun. Excited for that. And hopefully Utah will show a little bit better this time around than they have when the lights have been the brightest. BYU somehow, someway did it again. It's their second game this season where they've come back from a 14-point deficit. They were getting trounced early, and you just got to give BYU a ton of credit, man. They take advantage of their opportunities, and for whatever reason, teams that are playing BYU have just made atrocious mistakes that have allowed BYU to be very opportunistic, including Utah. Another botched punt, and it was really weird to kind of see what happened there. And you saw the replay, and it's wild that went BYU's way. Bear Bachmeier, another excellent game as it pertains to his freshman season. 22 of 35, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 carries, 49 yards. They're down 24-10. LJ Martin leaves the game, and you're like, what are they going to do? They just have playmakers who step up. I mean, their wide receiver duo, Parker Kingston, 7 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Chase with a nice bounce-back game, 8 catches, 128 yards. Their 2 wide receivers are so dynamic, and this Bear Bachmeier kid is just special. And are we high speed ahead to a rematch of the Holy War in Arlington? Now, obviously there's a lot of work left ahead, but, we're getting down to the final 4 or 5 games for most teams. The pathway is pretty clear. Utah has to win out, and they need help. And if you're a Ute fan, you just have to cheer hard for BYU to beat Texas Tech when they head down there. And, of course, Cincinnati is top-of-mind awareness because that is a team that remains undefeated in conference. And Texas Tech is going to have to get got again. So if you're a Ute fan, you hope that BYU handles them. And then it's going to be either Kansas State, UCF, or West Virginia. UCF and West Virginia stink. So Texas Tech is at K-State coming up on Saturday. And if you're a Ute fan, you better wear your purple. You got to cheer for K-State. Then you got to hope BYU handles their business against Tech. And then you have to stay clean. And then maybe Utah will be in Arlington. Now, that's a lot of maybes. But remember, 3 years ago, 17 things had to go the right way for Utah to win the Pac-12. And it did. So we'll see how it goes. All right, we are live today selling RVs. Because when you hear the name Spence Checketts, you think RVs. We are at the Layton Hills Mall. Go to UtahRVEvent.com. It's our friends at Paris RV. The sale has been extended. More inventory has been delivered. And due to the success, RV manufacturers have sent more inventory to the Layton Hills Mall for this RV liquidation event. Repos, buybacks, rental returns and trade-ins, toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent trailers, and more. All priced this week at blowout pricing. And every RV is prepped and includes a battery and propane. We will catch our first break of this Monday show, and we'll bring in Scott Mitchell to talk some Utah football right out of the gates. Happy Monday to you. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. Broadcasting live today, once again, from the Layton Hills Mall. We're selling RVs because when you think Spence Checketts, you think RVs. It is the Utah RV event. Go to UtahRVEvent.com. Our friends at Paris RV. And Porter, I just have to share a little experience with you. We have a listener named Jared who just stopped by.
Shout out,
And
Jared.
he said that, shout out Jared, and he said that he and I used to play against each other in intramurals back at the University of Utah, and he said I was nice. I just want to be clear. He said I was a nice guy.
I was going to say he was talking about your he was talking about you, right? Your attitude, not your handle, not your ball. Not your
No,
crossover.
he was very complimentary of my game, but I was more concerned that, maybe I got mad at him while we were competing and had a technical foul, got thrown out or something, because that was a thing for me. But he stopped by and complimented me. It's just what a kind person I am. I'd like to get that out into the community today, please. Thank you.
Love that. If you ask people that I played intramurals with, I don't think you'll get the same feedback, just for the record.
No, I was terrified, but I appreciate Jared for stopping by. You guys come by. You can meet our station mascot, Duke, and come check out these RVs. Speaking of a nice guy, Scott Mitchell, Monday afternoon after a big Ute win. Hello, Scott. Happy Monday, sir.
Happy Monday to you, and I'm telling you, Spence, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning and I think of Spence Checketts, I absolutely think RVs. It is the first thought that comes in my mind.
Yep. Love it. No, man of the people, and I'm broadcasting from inside a very nice RV, Scott. So you should roll up and buy. You should roll up and buy one of these things. Are you an RV guy at all?
I love RVs, and if I rolled up, I would end up buying one. It's a given. I actually, after, it was my 9th year in the NFL, I was considering retiring, and I actually bought an RV, and I had it made, and I was just going to travel around the country and see all of the obscure, tourist destinations, the biggest ball of twine in the world across the board, and spend however much time it took to go see every single state in the country.
Love it. It's good to be Scott Mitchell, as I often say. Good to be Bird Ficklin on this Monday afternoon, Scott. All of us were waiting with bated breath to see who would be under center after a Pete Thamel report on Saturday afternoon that Devin had been upgraded to probable, but Bird gets the call. And my goodness, what a dynamic start for Bird Ficklin. Give me your thoughts on Utah's quarterback play on Saturday night.
Well, the initial thought, or the kind of overall thought, I guess, that I have is it reminded me a lot of when Kent Rising showed up. And it just changed, the atmosphere. It changed the dynamic. It felt like it changed the team. I mean, you had special teams blocking punts and throwing passes and getting fake punts for first downs. The defense was lights out. Offensively, it was lights out. And, how much that really was, I don't know, but it sure felt that way. It sure looked that way. And I just, early on, it's like, look, you're starting you're a true freshman. You're going to be nervous, like really, and he was a little shaky to begin with. But then he just felt like the game was just comfortable to him. It was just normal. It was like, yeah, I do this all the time. And I was just so taken aback by how confident, in control, and his ability to execute at a high level, no matter what he was doing, throwing the football, running it, having command of the offense was just an extremely impressive thing to see happen. He was named not only the conference offensive player of the week, but the freshman of the week, and rightly so. I mean, it was a tremendous performance by him and the team. I don't know if I've ever seen as dominating a performance by a Utah team in forever, probably.
Second most rushing yards in school history, and for a team that has had a ton of awesome running backs and big-time rushing attacks, that certainly is not nothing. You said something to me, Scott, earlier this year that has stuck with me, and I wanted to bring it back around because you said at one point during one of our interviews that you feel like Bird actually throws a better ball than Devin. Are you still in that space? Do you still maintain that stance?
Oh, it's not a maintain. I'm doubling down on it. It was tremendous. I mean, there were some throws that are as good as you can get at any level of football, and he's very decisive about how he throws the football. There's no hesitation. There's no am I sure about this? And for a young freshman, a true freshman, there's a progression, how quarterbacks really get comfortable throwing. And the throws he's throwing to the outside, down the field, that's the high level. Usually freshmen start in the middle of the field. They start with checkdowns. They start with kind of easier throws, things that are kind of right in front of you. And he's very comfortable seeing a lot of the field. And it's also the ball comes out on time. And so much of that, and look, and I'm not here to knock on Devin Dampier, but he is limited, and his height is an issue for him in the pocket. And so there's times when you just don't see the ball come out as quickly. And there was a throw, and nobody would think anything of it but me, and that was to the tight end. He threw it was like first down and 10, and it was just a real simple, easy pass, which is what it should be. And when Dampier has been in there, that's been kind of an adventure, and only because he just can't see with those shorter routes. And they're great routes to call because they're always there, they're always open, and Ficklin saw it and hit it, and it was just a nice game. And I said, there's a difference right there between the two, and it's the ball getting out at the right time, on schedule, and really a lot of the time in the right spot.
So as you referenced, I just always like to get your take on the quarterback because that's the position you played. But this was a dominant team win. We saw Wayshawn Parker go over 100 yards for the first time. 10 carries, 145, a healthy 14.5 yards per carry. I wonder if you feel like Wayshawn is being utilized enough. And look, everyone had big-time holes and lanes because the offensive line, when this O-line is dialed in, they're as good as it gets in the conference. They've only had a couple of down games, and, of course, that's led to Utah losses. But do you feel like Wayshawn is being utilized enough based off of, at times, what seems like some big-time playmaking ability?
Oh, man, it's a hard question, and part of you wants to say, yeah, I do. In fact, in our pregame show, there were some things that I wanted to see. One was a much more aggressive special teams, like play to win on special teams. And the other one was I want to see someone other than the quarterback break out of this running game. And I've just been waiting for this to happen. And it's hard. It's hard when your quarterback is such a dynamic runner. There's only so many running plays you get in a game, so many running opportunities. And if you're having problems, on offense or, where the BYU game, they just weren't in sync and whatever, then your opportunities are even less. So when there's a whole committee of running backs, the quarterback runs, you're just not going to have as many opportunities. And running backs, really good ones, are like really good quarterbacks. They need to get in a rhythm. They need the ball. They need the touches. They need to get a feel for the game. And it's hard to do that when you're here. And then you got – and now they've added Daniel Bray to the mix. It's even another guy. So it's really hard. And I don't know if you can do it more, how you can get him more. You're going to take away from someone else if you do. And I don't know that that's a good answer. What it has done, I'll just tell you lastly, is that it's kept all these running backs fresh throughout the year. So there's a healthy, very fresh running back room that can kind of push you through the end of your season, and maybe you'll see more of Wayshawn as we finish out the year.
One more question as it pertains to the way Bird played, and I don't know where we're at with Devin's availability, and we won't know until kickoff because the availability report continues to be an unserious task for Coach Witt and his staff, as we know. But if Scott Mitchell was making the call, who would be Utah's starting quarterback on Saturday against Cincinnati?
My starting quarterback would be Ficklin, and he would be my guy for the rest of the year. You have a dilemma now, and the dilemma is you have two good quarterbacks, and so you've got to, you're not going to win the conference championship. It's very improbable. Like there's a slim chance, and it's kind of a fun exercise. Like there is a chance Utah and BYU could actually play in the conference championship, which would be unbelievable. But that's pretty much off the table. So why not really develop this young quarterback? Devin Dampier is who he is. I don't know that he's going to get better than where he is right now, but Bert Ficklin is. And you got to ask yourself a question: do you want one more year of Devin Dampier, or do you want 3 more years of Bert Ficklin? Because I don't believe you'll get both. I think someone out there will go after Bird Ficklin and try to buy him away, and I think you're going to have to make a choice between these two guys. And the upside of Bird Ficklin throwing the football is just so much more dynamic. You can do so much more with your offense. It will open things up so much more than what you're seeing now. And so I want to see this guy. It's almost like it would be a tryout for me. Let's just see what this kid can really do. And I'd love to see it this week, where the game matters. It's really important. It's a really quality opponent. You know, how does he handle the pressure of that situation when a game is on the line and it matters? And so I would get all the freshman bumps out of the way this year, and then have 3 really good years of Bird Ficklin moving forward.
So I referenced this earlier. I mean, on Saturday night, it felt very much like it did after the Tech loss when Utah went to West Virginia and just undressed the Mountaineers. But Colorado's a better team than West Virginia. I don't know how good they are, but give me your impressions of the Buffs. I mean, even Dion after the game, he said that's the worst beating he had ever received outside of the beating he received from his mother as a child, which was quite something to say during a presser. But that is Dion. So we continue to kind of wonder, okay, how good is Utah based off the competition? The 2 toughest tasks they've received, they have not been able to pass the test. But give me your impressions of Colorado. I mean, how much pushback do they actually provide?
Well, first of all, my mom gave me a few whacks with the wooden spoon and the spatula, so I know how that feels. But his reaction was so interesting because he I think his team. I think he thought they were going to play a lot better than they did, and he's got talent. I mean, he's got players there. It was just like Utah knocked the teeth out of him so quickly and so often. I mean, it was like defensively, offensively, special teams. It was just everywhere. It was one of those nights when everything just clicked and was on board. And I don't know how good Colorado really is. I don't know. When you don't have a culture, I'm not sure what their culture is. You're always bringing in all of these new guys, and it just isn't quite there. You kind of don't fight as much when you get down. There's not this the team the culture here doesn't matter, and so it just looked like Colorado was very uninterested in that game very early on, and so much of it was just how Utah played. So I don't know. I don't know how good Utah is still, even at this point. And I just would love to see, game day coming. It's now a pressure game. It's a meaningful game. It's a game you absolutely have to win if you want any chance to go to the championship. And I'm just fascinated to see, can they finally once this year play big in a big game?
So I don't want to make something out of nothing. I try not to do this job that way. And there probably isn't anything here, Scott, but what do you attribute? So whether it's been Big Noon or game day, Utah has typically laid an egg, at least as of late. I think they're 1-3 in their last 4 game day appearances. Of course, Big Noon here for Tech. We know how that went down. Big Noon down in Provo for BYU. So that's 1-5 in the last 6 games that Utah has been featured on one of these national platforms. Any thoughts there? I mean, or is it just a coincidence? Is it not being able to meet the moment? I don't know, Scott. You played. What are your thoughts?
A lot of it is, the type of team you are. There are some teams that really relish the spotlight. And the moment, I think of the times, like I loved those games. I loved when you knew everyone was watching and you wanted to put forth your best effort. Sometimes guys try too hard, and it's a real thing, and they get out of their game. And then what happens is you try hard, and it's not going the same as it went like last week or like it normally is. And you start to panic, and then you press harder. And it's kind of counterintuitive, where it's like I know all coaches that teach these tour pros, they tell them on the first tee to swing about 50%, and that it's because you're adrenaline, you're already juiced up, and so you're going to be swinging full speed, and so it's just learning how to manage the unique nature of the emotions you have. and it's a real thing, and it's really hard sometimes for these young players to do that until you get enough experience with it. And that's where I say lean into this and embrace it and celebrate it and be excited about it, as opposed to being tense and nervous and, oh my goodness, we got to show up, well this week. It's just like, let's go play. And I'm so glad everybody's watching, and I want that attention on me. And I don't know if they do that or not, but that's certainly how I would approach it.
So Cincinnati is the opponent for another late kick. 8:15 will be the kick time, and they're very balanced. Brendan Sorsby is the number one quarterback in the Big 12 as far as QBR goes. Devin is actually 2, by the way. Of course, that balances both passing and rushing, and Sorsby is a guy that's going to run it as well as throw it. And they've kind of been this sneaky team, Scott. They lose their opener to Nebraska. Nebraska no longer ranked, and then they've just gone on and been able to survive some very close games. They barely beat Kansas. They struggled against UCF. They blew out Oklahoma State in Stillwater, but everybody's doing that. They're coming off a win against Baylor pretty convincingly. So it's interesting to consider exactly how they've been able to do what they've been able to do, but they find themselves undefeated at the top of the conference with Brigham Young. And we'll get to BYU in a moment. But what stands out most about this matchup, as we sit here right now, it looks like Utah is a 7.5-point favorite. After the line opened up at 5.5, it's moved up 2 points. So what stands out most about this matchup?
Well, it's a kind of tells you about the conference. Another team like that is Houston, and they're very quietly sitting in an unbelievably good position. And you got to in this conference, and that's one of the things Cincinnati's done very well. And there are times when you just got to outgun people and be explosive. And you have a quarterback like that who can, really play well in multi-facets. You're going to be in a lot of games, and when you don't beat yourself, which is what's happening at BYU as well, and you just kind of let everyone just kind of screw up on their own, and so it's about playing hard, it's about being explosive offensively, and it's about not beating yourself. You do those 3 things, and you're going to be right in the mix of this conference, because there's no dominant, really super dominant team. You say Texas Tech might be better than everyone defensively, but I can't say offensively, oh yeah, they're just head and shoulders above everyone else. And so everyone in this conference is fairly well balanced in their talent level and just kind of how the teams match up. And so it boils down to, don't make mistakes. You've got to be explosive offensively. You've got to score points, and if you have that quarterback, and a quarterback can make up for a whole lot of deficiencies on a team.
You referenced earlier, we're still trying to figure out how good Utah is, and this is a unique year, Scott, because usually I'll have an expectation or an opinion preseason that will change throughout the course of the year. But I kind of am with Utah today where I was at to start the season. I still think they're really, really good. And, the Texas Tech loss is one thing. The BYU loss will sting for a long time because of how winnable that game was. But if you pull up ESPN's advanced metrics, they continue to really like Utah. The College Football Power Index, as of now, has Utah as the highest-ranked Big 12 team. They have Utah at 11. They have Texas Tech at 14. They have BYU at 16. And when you look over at the S&P Plus, which is Bill Conley's formula that he created in 2008 at Football Outsiders before ESPN hired him and paid him a good amount of money, S&P Plus Utah at 7. Texas Tech right now, where's Tech? Oh, Tech is actually at 4. So he likes Tech as the best team in the Big 12 at 4. Utah at 7, and then BYU at 19. So you look at the advanced metrics that ESPN uses to rank football teams, they still really think Utah is one of the top 10 teams in the country. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I really do. It's funny because, what you see on the field, and I saw it on Saturday. I mean, you saw it really all year. I'm just thinking about this defense to start with, and one of the things that has been a very consistently good thing is this defensive secondary. and I don't think they get enough conversation, enough credit, but those corners, they go so much man-to-man coverage, and very rarely are you seeing these guys just get beat or just, really look bad, and they kind of look the part too. They're long and athletic, and now they haven't had a lot of interceptions this year, but man, I've seen a lot of pass breakups in the secondary, and got some great players. Smith Snowden's been great. Elijah Davis has been really good. I mean, Jackson Benny has been phenomenal, and you just, but the whole secondary just looked really good. And it was a big part of the problem Colorado had, is that they could blitz and they could rush and play coverage behind it, and just they just smothered Colorado. And they've done that quite a bit throughout the year. The two losses that really Utah has had kind of came late, and they were right in the game, and the quarterback's kind of been injured and not really what his strength is. So I don't see any reason why Utah's not as good a team in the conference. Now, you got to win games, and that's certainly been a disappointment, those two close games. I mean, if you just win one of those, still you're in a tremendous position, but two just really put you down in the conference. But I just really there's a lot of good, and then you get on the offensive side of this, and that offensive line is, for the most, been pretty stout. I mean, the beginning of the second half, Utah starts running the ball down the field, and they're looking really good, and then all of a sudden they get across the 50-yard line, they start throwing it, and you're like, just keep running it, and they kind of got away from that a little bit in the BYU game. So, I think Utah still is a very, very good football team.
All right, Scott, before I set you loose, you referenced the potential of a BYU-Utah rematch in the Big 12 championship game, and ultimately the numbers say that that's a very slight possibility. The reality is, if you're a Utah fan, you have to really cheer for BYU to beat Texas Tech, and then Tech is on the road this week against Kansas State. Now, K-State is not the team that we thought they would be, but they're still solid. Really, BYU is going to have to beat Texas Tech. Then Texas Tech is going to have to lose to either Kansas State, and then UCF and West Virginia are their final two games, and those two teams stink. So it looks like Tech is going to have to lose to K-State and BYU, and then Utah is going to have to win out. Do you think that really is a possibility? Are we reaching at this point?
Well, you don't know. If someone just has a bad game, it's like Texas Tech might be down to their third quarterback. I believe their backup actually ended up tearing his ACL last weekend. So, now you're down to your third quarterback, or back to your first one who's injured, or that changes the dynamic of things, and you could see an upset there. You've seen Cincinnati kind of struggle in a couple of games, and that's a possibility. What really hurt Utah was Iowa State just really giving a gift to BYU last week. Really had that game in control, going in to score and throw an interception, and that just changed the whole dynamic of the game. But the other team that's really going to be a challenge, though, for Utah is Houston, and they have a really easy schedule going down the wire, and I don't know where Utah is in a tiebreaker with them. They do have one conference loss, but it looks like they're more than TCU. If TCU just shows up and beats them, maybe that's a chance. But Houston's, I think, the biggest hurdle for Utah to get past to get in the conference championship. But yeah, you got to cheer for BYU a lot at this point, and you got to get a lot of help, which is highly unlikely.
Scott, appreciate the time. Have a great week. Have a good late call, another late call for you on Saturday, and we'll chat soon, okay?
I look forward to it. Thanks, Spence.
All right, Scott Mitchell, former Utah quarterback, Utah back in action, Cincinnati with College Game Day in town. We're live today at the Paris RV, Utah RV event at Layton Hills Mall. Once again, we were here last week. Come on by and say hi. They've extended the event, which is always fun, and my buddy Dustin stops by once again. What's up, Dustin? How are you, man?
Doing pretty good. How you doing today?
It's good to see you again. You were helpful last time we were here. You caught us off guard. You extended the event. Tell us why. What happened?
Yeah, we just got a lot of interest toward the end of the week, and they the mall kind of asked us if we stick around. Obviously, the traffic helps them out as well, and it didn't hurt us any to extend. So we're here again.
Very cool. Well, a great mind once told me radio is not linear, so we're going to be talking about some of the same things we did last week, if you don't mind. First of all, you are a father of 5 daughters.
That's correct.
And this has been, utilizing an RV has been a great way for you and your family to see the country in a very affordable way. Fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, my kids, I grew up camping. Most of the time, we did it the old-fashioned way in the back of a truck without much insulation, whatever. But at least for me, I can't speak for everybody. When you have 5 daughters, you need a little bit more amenity, like a bathroom specifically. It's the memories that I've ended up creating with my kids, they now want to pass that along to, I'm starting to have grandkids, and they want to do that same thing. So in their mind, they love going and seeing different things, but when push comes to shove, they'd rather go camping and spend time with mom and dad.
The other thing you brought up last week that was really interesting is whether it's Disney World, Disneyland, or Lagoon right here, a great way to take your kids to go enjoy those parks that they love is actually using the RV, driving there, and then staying in the RV park and then going to the parks, as opposed to wasting a lot of money on a hotel.
Yeah, we learned this the hard way, actually. So a few years ago, we were living in St. George, and we always buy season tickets to Lagoon. So we came up, got a hotel room, and my kids were a little bit younger, but I still had at least 4 at the time. And packing everybody inside of a hotel room, even if you had 2 of them, there's not a lot of amenities inside those other than sleeping and maybe a couch or 2, whatever. So we just kind of felt trapped, a little bit claustrophobic, and we had a fifth wheel at the time, and we're looking. They have a campground right beside it. So the next year we came up, we stayed right outside the park. When my kids got tired, wanted a nap, we literally just walked out of the park. There's an entrance that goes out of the park, and took a nap, had lunch, went right back to having fun, and we weren't exhausted. We had food there. We didn't have to spend a lot of money. And really, it was just the cost of the park and the convenience. And then when we were exhausted at the end of the night, our beds were right there waiting for us.
No, it sounds like a great setup. So why is this event the event folks should take advantage of if they want to buy an RV? What makes this event special?
Well, right now, like our advertisement says, we're doing blowout pricing. So we're taking any fair offer, of course. We need to make sure that we're profitable to some extent, but we have everything that you're looking for right now. Prices are never going to be better than they are right now, and we've got anything and everything you can choose from: camping trailers, tent trailers, pop-ups, hybrids, toy haulers, motorhomes, Class A, B, C, all the above. We've got a little bit of everything up here at the Paris RV, and if we don't have it here, I can definitely get it taken care of at one of our different lots. So,
love it.
We can get you taken care of with anything we have in our inventory.
Finally, for anybody who's listening and sounds appealing to them, but maybe their budget is a little tight, you have good financing options, yeah?
Absolutely. Our finance guys are some of the best. They get most people financed depending on, it's obviously everything's dependent on your credit, but they have deals with a lot of organizations that'll get you financed when others won't. So absolutely, and not really raking you over the coals with those interest rates either. So.
There you go. Dustin, great to see you, man. We'll chat again. Come on by the Utah RV event at Layton Hills Mall. If you want to check out the website before you roll up, go to UtahRVEvent.com. It's our friends at Paris RV. Having a good time up here. I do want to tell you about another friend of ours, Advanced Window Products. Had a chance to chat with Nate Orchard on the sidelines during Utah's dominant win over Colorado. He's just the best dude, man. This is a great company. He and his buddy Jake Weber run it. It's Utah's #1 window replacement company and manufacturing company, and now they've got a special fall offer where you can get $2,500 off when you buy 10 windows or more. Now, the nice thing about this offer is if you don't need new windows now, but you think you might in 4 or 5 months, call them, get on the schedule, and then you're going to lock in the savings. So Advanced Window Products at 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, 801-850-9100, or visit advancedwindows.com. All right, we'll catch our first break of this Monday show. More Utah football on your way with Jason Batacchia. Then we're going to replay Coach Witt's presser. That is your 3 o'clock hour. And then Bill Riley will join us coming up at 4. So a jam-packed Monday show. And it's good to have you with us right here on ESPN 700. Hear from Coach Witt coming up in a bit, who addressed the media earlier today. We replay that every Monday during the college football season in case you missed it. Bill Riley will join us, voice of the Utes. Fun and catch up with Scott Mitchell to start the show. More Utah football on the way now is Jason Batakiao, the Utah beat writer from the Salt Lake Tribune, is our guest on a Monday. Jason, happy Monday, young man. How are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm well. I appreciate your time. Would you like to talk Utah football or Halo right out of the gates?
That's a good question. We could do Utah football for now. Maybe Halo at another time.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm also a Halo enthusiast, although I haven't played in quite some time. Let's start here, Jason. Scott Mitchell joined us to start the show. And I basically just asked him straight up if it was Scott Mitchell's choice, who would be the quarterback the rest of the way, and he said Bird Ficklin. What are your thoughts on that? Devin's second in the Big 12 in QBR, but after what we saw Saturday night, Scott said he thinks Bird is the better choice. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. To be straight up with you, I think Utah would be. Did I lose you? Sorry.
No, I'm here. You're good. I got you.
I think Utah fans should really consider the level of experience that Devin Dampier has over Bird Ficklin right now, and I think that's the only factor, kind of keeping Devin above Bird in the depth chart order right now. I think they're very similarly talented. Obviously, Dev's a great runner, Bird's a great runner. We saw that on Saturday. I think where Bird kind of edges over Devin a little bit is his arm strength, and we saw that in moments. Obviously, Bird completed only 46% of his passes, but Witt clamored after the win. He was like, well, he's more accurate in practice, and I believe it. I mean, there were some throws that he made that were just incredibly impressive, especially that back shoulder fade to Larry Simmons. I mean, not many quarterbacks can make that throw, especially with the kind of velocity Bird had. So I think it's an interesting question. Right now, we've seen more from Devin. He's led Utah to a 5-2 record before, Bird got them to 6-2. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12, but upside-wise, I think Bird is just better in that category. But I think for this year, I think Utah sticks with Devin just because of what he's done in the locker room, what he's done to establish his leadership, and I think it would be a risky move to go with a freshman quarterback so late into the season. Maybe if this team was, 2-3 games into the season, maybe, you say, oh, Bird's playing really well, you throw him out there, but I don't know. It's an interesting question, but if I were Utah and I were Kyle Whittingham, I would stick with Devin for now. But long term, I think Bird's going to be the quarterback, and I think that they're going to have to answer that question at the end of the season. I mean, Devin still has a year of eligibility left, and I'm a firm believer that he hasn't put enough on tape to go to the NFL yet. So maybe he goes to another big time program that's going to offer him money, and the Utes opt to give the keys to Bird Ficklin, which I think they might do. But, those questions are kind of up in the air right now. But I think for the rest of the season, Utah opts for Dev to be the starter long term. And I think Kyle even kind of, hinted at that by saying there's no quarterback controversy right now. But who knows? College football is crazy. And what Bird showed on Saturday, he looked really good and he looked poised. He looked calm under pressure, a lot different than what Isaac Wilson looked like last season when they threw a true freshman out there. So, yeah.
So it's interesting to consider the opponent. Every time you try to break down a game, you have to try to understand what sort of test that Utah had been facing. And look, I kind of said this earlier. The game felt a lot like the West Virginia game, but Colorado's better than West Virginia. They were coming off a win against Iowa State, and then they were coming off a bye week. So I don't want to take anything away from Utah because I think bouncing back after such a gut-wrenching loss to BYU and curb stomping Colorado is more who Utah is as opposed to who Colorado is not. But how stout of a challenge do you think that was for Bird Ficklin and Utah on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think Colorado is known as an offensive team. they were an offensive team last year, even though Travis Hunter, a two-way, playmaker, won the Heisman. But, their defense has been kind of suspect all season. I think Colorado is kind of one of those mediocre Big 12 teams that, can cause some ruckus. I mean, like you said, we saw it against Iowa State. They played a really close game against BYU a few weeks ago, and I think that was BYU's first true test outside of the Arizona game and obviously the Iowa State and Utah games. But I think it is fair to say that was a first really true good test for Bird, and he passed it with flying colors. Obviously, again, the completion percentage wasn't as high as you probably would want it to be if you're a Utah fan, but he ran all over that defense. Was honestly the catalyst that led them to have that lead that basically rendered the game over at halftime. And so I think it is fair to say that that was Bird at his best, and I think that was Utah at their best. Obviously they game planned very well, but I think it'll be interesting to see if Bird does start this weekend. Obviously we don't know, it's a Monday. If he does start against Cincinnati, I think that's a real test for him, because Cincinnati's, as Kyle Whittingham said it in his Monday news presser today, I mean, they're red hot. 7-game win streak. They're right at the top of the Big 12 with BYU, and so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward.
So, the availability report has proven to be a very unserious endeavor for Coach Witt and his staff. I will admit to laughing when they put Lander Barton on it, that he was going to miss the first half because he had been ejected. I did think that was funny. I don't know if they're going to get in trouble with the Big 12. I think at some point they'll probably look at this and be like, dude, you guys don't even care. And ultimately, that makes it difficult to know what's going to happen as it pertains to Devin's health Saturday against Cincinnati, who, as you just alluded to, is red hot. But do you have any information about how Devin is doing and who we should expect to see under center on Saturday night?
I think it's early to kind of suspect or even, I guess, speculate on, what that is going to look like. I think coming into maybe Thursday or Friday and you and everybody else will kind of have a better idea. I think coming up to the game, as Kyle kind of alluded to, I was hearing that it was kind of it could either go Bird's direction or it could go Devin's direction. And then obviously, pregame he wasn't feeling it, as Kyle said. I don't know. I toward the end of last week, Dev was pushing to play pretty hard. I mean, even though Bird was taking most of the reps in practice. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Devin was probable in the Friday availability report. I think he was even removed off of the pregame availability report because he was, technically an emergency backup. So, if Utah needed him, Devin was there, and if they needed him to play, I'm sure they would have gone to him, but obviously it didn't shake out that way. So, I think it'll be interesting to see. Dev's been dealing with that ankle issue, whatever you want to call it, lower leg injury for a decent amount of time this season. I don't know if he re-aggravated it, against BYU, or if he, it's a brand new injury that kind of popped up. But, we've seen Devin at his best. I think Arizona State and UCLA were probably his two best games of the season, especially when he was fully healthy. And then we've seen games where, he was against West Virginia and he couldn't even cut on his ankle because obviously it was raining, it's turf, yada, yada. And so I don't know. I think it's still kind of up in the air right now, and I think anybody else would kind of tell you the same thing. But, I think just knowing Dev and the kind of player he is, I think he'll probably push to start. But obviously that's up to the athletic trainers and the coaching staff. And I'm sure we won't glean much from the availability reports, as you said. So I think Utah fans and maybe even media members will find out at game time, honestly. So, yeah.
So I know you've been here for a minute now, but I did want to ask you what your first Holy War experience was like in Provo. I believe you were here for the game last year.
Yep.
But the Provo atmosphere is a little bit different, and that was quite a football game. And that one is going to sting, Jason, for a long, long time. I said this earlier, and I caught some pushback, and that's fine. BYU fans can disagree, but I believe if Utah and BYU played 10 times on a neutral field this year, Utah would win probably 7 of those games. But BYU won the game. They took advantage of some interesting play call choices from Witt, interesting decisions from Witt, interesting play calls from Jason, and some lack of execution from the players. This is a team game, and teams win and lose as a team. But what were your main takeaways from that game, and how did you digest your first Holy War in Provo?
Yeah, it blew me away. I mean, last year blew me away. I've seen the OU Texas rivalry. I've seen Bedlam, which is Oklahoma versus OSU, and I think Utah BYU is right up there, as one of the best rivalries in the country, especially just as an in-state rivalry. I mean, there's so many factors kind of rolled up into this nice burrito that just is filled with hatred and just that stems back so many years. And so I was impressed. That's my second time covering a game in Provo. I went down there last year to kind of just see what the environment was like when I think BYU faced the Salukis or whatever that program's called. No offense to that program. But the tailgate scene was electric. The fan atmosphere was insane. I mean, it was just incredibly impressive, and it just continues to add to, the more I learn about this rivalry, whether you see it on Twitter or, just fan interactions on the street. I mean, if you see a guy wearing Utah red and then a guy wearing BYU blue, like they'll give each other weird looks or, and it extends into, church activities and just so much more. And, it's impressive, and it's really cool to cover a rivalry game like that. And, just to see how the stakes can maybe affect decision makings, whether it's kicking a field goal or going forward on 4th down or just stuff like that. I think really is just emblematic of how good this rivalry is. And, it's fun, and there's so many cool storylines that come from it. So, really impressed. It was a 10 out of 10 experience just from a journalistic perspective for sure.
All right, Jason, before I say you lose, because I know you have an interview you've got to do, this is a kind of a weird year in a way, because oftentimes I'll have an opinion on Utah football to start the season, and then it will change over the course of time based off of results, based off of injuries. I'm still today, Jason, in the same place with Utah football as I was to start the season. I think they're really good. I think they made some horrendous coaching errors and lack of execution against BYU that cost them that game. And the Tech game is the Tech game, but the results are the results. When you look at the advanced metrics that ESPN uses, College Football Power Index, Utah is 11, BYU is 16. And then you look at the S&P Plus, which is Bill Conley's metric, Utah is 7, and BYU is 19. So before I say you lose, how good do you feel like this Utah team is after 8 games?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the same track that you are. I think they're a really good football team, but I also think that they have struggled to beat probably the two best teams in the Big 12. And, I think it says one thing when you blow out teams like a Colorado or, a West Virginia or, et cetera, and that says it itself. But, if you can't beat the big dogs like BYU or Texas Tech, that also says something itself. Whether that's, small errors that, lead to a blowout loss against Texas Tech late in the fourth quarter, or it's 4th down decisions against BYU or turnover margins. I know they had 2 in that game. I think this next game is probably, again, Utah's biggest test of the season. Can they beat a ranked opponent? And, I know they beat Arizona State pretty handedly, but, they were without Sean Leavitt or Sam Leavitt. Sorry, I think I mispronounced his name. Jeff Sims. We saw, Arizona State lose again against Houston without, Leavitt actively, in the lineup. I know he was in and out of that game with his foot injury. But, again, I think Cincinnati is the first real, again, maybe not first, but the third biggest test for Utah this season. And if they're going to prove that they're, among the big dogs in the Big 12. They have to beat them. It's at home. It's a night game. College game days here. And I think if Utah wants to say they're one of the top teams in the country, let alone one of the top teams in the Big 12, they have to beat Cincinnati. That's just point blank period. And you can use all the advanced stats, all the analytics to say, oh, their offense is so good or their defense is so good. They have the best offensive line in the country, like all those things. It doesn't matter unless they get those wins. That's just my point of view. And I kind of stand by that. So I think they're really good, but I don't think they're the best of the Big 12 because they haven't beat BYU or Texas Tech. And, maybe they get another chance of that in the Big 12 title game. I don't think they will, but I guess we'll find out in the latter stretch of the season. So, yeah.
All right, Jason, good stuff today, man. We'll set you loose. Tell all of our listeners where they can go find your work.
Yeah, you can find my work at the Salt Lake Tribune. Just look up Jason Batacchio. That's BATACAO. Or you can find me on Twitter. It's J_BATACAO, making it easy for you guys to spell it out. So, but thanks for having me on. I always enjoy coming on. And, hope you guys have a good rest of your day as well.
Jason Batacchio, beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune, covers the University of Utah. He comes to our state from Oklahoma, so he knows what college football is all about. I always appreciate his time. I want to tell you about my friends at America First Credit Union. We had my guy Dave in studio last week. Really good dude. And they've got great new member deals for you right now. So go to americafirst.com/deals. They're giving you $100 when you open up a checkings and a savings account. And then one of the cool things they do, I learned about this last week, if you're a parent, it's never too early to start teaching your children how money works, right? Whether they're teenager, high school, as they age a little bit, they're giving you $50 on the house if you open up an account for your team. And they'll help you understand how you can teach your children maybe lessons you didn't learn as a kid and maybe you wish you would have learned them. So if you're not happy with your current banking situation, I'd encourage you to consider our friends at America Credit Union. They've got a bunch of great partnerships across the landscape of our state with our sports teams. They just released their new Jazz card, and it's really nice. It's purple. It's got the Jazz note on it. And you get a discount to the Jazz team store. A bunch of discounts on merchandise, a bunch of good ticket offers. And when the triple-double streak comes to an end, the next day they're giving you 39% off at the Jazz team store. And, of course, they're the official credit union of the University of Utah Athletic Department. So support your team with the official Utah Athletics Visa debit card, which is free, with America First checking options. As the official credit union of Utah Athletics, America First can offer our members the exclusive Visa debit card and the perks that come with it. Two really cool perks that I like. They give you a special ticketing offer, so if you have ever tried to buy or sell tickets on the secondary market, total pain. But they give you special ticket offers. As an America First member, you can score exclusive tickets and prices to Utah sporting events. And then my favorite thing might be the early game day entry. They do this for the Jazz as well. You can beat the crowd and get in a Rice Eccles Stadium up to 2 hours prior to kickoff, 30 minutes sooner than the general public. All you have to do is show a valid ticket and your America First Visa debit card to the security officers at Gate L in the southeast corner. So, again, great new member offers, $100 for you, $50 for your kid. AmericaFirst.com/deals is where you go. We're live today at the Utah RV event at the Layton Hills Mall. Check out UtahRVevent.com online and check out the inventory. The sale has been extended because of the success of the event last week. So Layton Hills Mall, repos, buybacks, rental returns, trade-ins, and more. Toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent trailers, and motorhomes. All priced to sell this week at blowout pricing. And every RV is prepped and includes a battery and propane. We'll catch a break coming up on the other side. If you did not hear from the head ball coach himself, we'll let you hear what Coach Witt had to say during his media availability on a Monday edition of The Drive. Good to have you along for the ride right here on ESPN 700. Excuse me. Rolling along, Monday afternoon. Bill Riley's going to join us in about 30 minutes. We're live at the RV show. Come up to the Layton Hills Mall and say hello. But time now to hear from the head football coach for the University of Utah. As we do every single Monday, in case you missed it from earlier today, here's a few minutes from the man himself, Kyle Whittingham.
Good response by our guys this week. Really played well. All three phases. Offense, defense, special teams were all clicking. Thought our freshman quarterback, Bird Ficklin, played exceptionally well for his first outing. And really, was a big positive for us. Just all positives. Really nothing negative coming out of that game. Defense, 7 sacks, less than 150 yards total low. And it was a very aggressive game plan by Coach Scally. I think we were about 70% pressure, and so it was very effective. Ran the football exceptionally well. In addition, offensively, and that's when we're at our best, is when we're running the ball. We had to the tune of 420 yards rushing, and so that was another big plus in the game. And so really, that kind of sums it up. I mean, it was very positive all across the board. Cincinnati coming in here, red hot team. Had the tough loss in the opener, right down to the wire with Nebraska, and have since rattled off 7 wins in a row. And so they're playing exceptionally good football. Quarterback's a big, strong kid, dual threat, can run, can throw. They're 11 personnel team, 75% of the time, mixed in with some 12, and that 3-3-5 on defense. A lot of people are playing, and so got our work cut out for us this week. Have to have another great week of preparation, as always. That's what it's all about. And we got to come ready to play another 8:15 kickoff. So night game for our fans. Our fans seem to love to come out to those night games. So we're looking forward to another great environment. And the environment last week was terrific. It was a homecoming crowd, and can't say enough positive things about our fans, the muss, the band. It was all going on Saturday night. So we need to repeat that this coming weekend. So questions? How about those Mammoths? 7 in a row now. Yeah, 7 in a row. Yeah, so best record in the NHL. I think we got the most. We were tied for, I think, the Devils. And, did you just snort? Yeah. Anyway, go Mammoth.
Win on Saturday in all phases. With Cincinnati rolling into town, we have struggled with the top-tier teams in the Big 12 with the offensive line levitation in the red zone and the subsequent lack of offensive production. What is your plan to correct this deficiency?
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Did you say levitation? Define levitation for me. Like levitating, like they're rising up?
The push.
Okay. Well, we fare, again, good teams is, there's typically, it's tougher matchups. Not that that's an excuse, but good teams are good teams for a reason. I mean, they're good football teams, but I think this year we've had 6 really good ball games and twice where we didn't play our best. But we're just going to continue working and trying to figure out ways to continue to win games. And I don't have a great answer other than that. So tough question, but thank you.
Do you expect Devin Dampier to see that?
We'll see how practice goes. It's only Monday, obviously. Practice cranks back up tomorrow, and he's certainly feeling better each day. But really, we'll just have to see how he progresses and where that goes. And if he's not ready, then we know Bird is ready to go again if he needs to be.
Over the course of your long career, leave all the names out of it, but there may have been times where you started a quarterback who wasn't anywhere near 100% because you thought that player could go and was still way better than anybody else you could have put out there. Mm-hmm. Did Bird Ficklin change your idea maybe of what would be possible if Devin Dampier isn't 100%? Do you think you can see him performing at a level now where maybe it would make sense either in the middle of the game or before a game to get him?
Well, I think the bottom line is, and always will be, which quarterback, which player for any position for that matter gives you the best chance of winning. And if a 90% Devin Dampier we feel gives us a better chance than 100% Bird, that's just an example. Then we go with the guy that we think is gives us that best shot. And so I can tell you we got a lot of confidence in Bird, especially after what we saw on Saturday night. But Devin is still QB1. Make no mistake, there's no QB controversy or of any sort. And we'll just have to measure Devin's progress day by day and see where he ends up. And, it's going to be, pretty much he's got a lot of input. And, he's an experienced vet. And Saturday night he just says, hey, I'm just not feeling it. I'm ready if you have to have me. He was ready for an emergency situation if it came to that. But we'll lean on Devin a lot to figure, how he's feeling, and he's going to do what's best for the team. Devin's a team guy, and so we'll just see how things progress.
Last season, when you guys had a quarterback injury, it seemed to be like a snowball effect in terms of adversity, where just everything started going wrong. But this year, specifically with Saturday's game, it seemed like the team kind of rallied and showed a lot of resilience, and you ended up having one of your best performances, not only of this season, but the past three seasons on offense and defense. What does it say about kind of the mental toughness of this group that they were able to respond to Dampier going out and kind of step their game up, especially after a loss the week earlier?
Yeah, it says a lot, and also a lot about our leadership on the football team. We've got great leadership on this team. Our captains have done a phenomenal job all season long, and we announced to the team after warm-ups, hey, it's Bird's show. We got to support him and rally around him, and they were fired up about that. The opportunity to help him out and be at our best, and so compliments and kudos to the team for doing just that. For being able to rally around the replacement quarterback and play like we did. I mean, we played as well as we've played in a long time.
Kyle, college game day is coming to town for this matchup. Just walk me through how, I guess, getting a national show like that. Obviously, Big Noon has been here multiple times for multiple games this year. I guess, just as a head coach, how do you kind of navigate, having that national attention? And does it create the possibility for any distractions during the week? I mean, just walk me through that.
Well, that's the thing you want to avoid is distractions, and those shows, they do a good job of not really being a distraction for your guys. I mean, the biggest distraction is guys just knowing that they're on, the center stage and having those guys come to town. So, but they're very non-invasive and for the players especially, and they get it. And so it's good for the program, overall, in the big picture. It's great for the university, the program, the community, state of Utah. So I think it's got so many positive things to it, positive aspects. And as a coach, you just try to, early in the week, make sure that your guys understand that, hey, they're here, but it's business as usual, and we don't approach it any differently as far as our preparation, and that they got to be able to block out the noise and not get caught up in it, because we got a game to play and we got to prepare and go through our paces just like we always do.
Coach, you mentioned the 71% pressure rate in the game. I would be curious.
I said around 70%.
Around 70.
Yeah.
I knew. I saw it was 70 now.
Who said that?
PFF.
Yeah, I think they added some simulated pressures in there, and then also in short yardage when you fill the gaps up, it's not really a pressure, but anyway.
Okay.
93% of statistics are made up on the spot. And so, there you go. Okay.
How do you build off of a performance like that, where you have so much pressure and you've got to maintain that rest of the way?
Yeah, well, each week is different, and so you're not going to be able to get away with that much pressure in certain weeks, or nor do you want to try to. And so Coach Scally does a masterful job, as does all three of our coordinators, of putting together plans and things that we feel give us the best chance to succeed, and what fits that particular week, and what a certain team is susceptible to, what they're good at handling. I mean, we do all kinds of breakdowns, computer breakdowns as far as the quarterbacks quarterbacks we're facing, how do they handle 3-man rush, 4-man rush, 5-man rush, and so forth, and that gives us a lot of direction on how to go about putting the game plan together. But it's a week-to-week thing, and some weeks this is probably the highest dose of pressure I can ever remember us applying, and it kind of snowballed. You talk about things snowballing. The more we blitzed, the better it got, and so we just kept on doing it and continued to work. So that was definitely the right move this past week.
What impressed you most about Bird, maybe even during the week, and how he prepared?
His composure and his he's just unflappable. He nothing bothers him, and he is an intelligent young man, extremely intelligent. He's got pretty much the whole offense at his disposal, and that's saying a lot for a true freshman. And he's so athletic. That's another thing. It's something that is so makes him so difficult to defend, and such a so much upside as a quarterback. He's so athletic. He's fast. He's quick. He can make people miss. He's tough. He can take hits, and he's got a really good arm. His arm talent was not really on display Saturday night like it really is. Most days in practice. I mean, he's got great accuracy and a strong arm. Wasn't real sharp in the throw game. His numbers were just okay throwing the football. But as he gets more time and down the road in the future, I think you're going to realize that he's got a really good, accurate, strong arm in addition to his athleticism.
Kyle, I'm curious about your thoughts on, Bird and Larry Simmons seems to have, a great connection. There was a couple of times where, they were on the same page last night or on Saturday. And also, in that West Virginia game, Bird had that deep shot to Larry. How have the two of them maybe, worked together through this process as the season has went on?
I think that's probably more coincidence than anything. I don't think there's any concerted effort or any special bond that he and Larry have. I think it's just a matter of, like I said, Larry being in the right place at the right time, had the right route called, and Bird looking in the right location. So I wouldn't put it any more than that on, as far as that goes.
You look at Cincinnati, they got a quarterback that's with 20 touchdowns, 20 interceptions.
Yeah.
They've only turned the ball over 4 times.
Tremendous. Yeah.
They got such a balanced offense. They have 3 guys over 400 yards rushing, 4 guys over 300 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm.
How do you concentrate or attack a team that's balanced as that?
Yeah, they're very balanced. You hit it all. All the not all the positive, but the things that they do exceptionally well, and they're also really good. Red zone touchdown percentage is over 70%. Balanced, as you say, nearly 200 yards rushing and about 280 or 90 throwing, scoring nearly 40 points a week, and they can hurt you different ways. But maybe the biggest RPO team that we faced as well. They really lean heavily on the RPOs, and so Coach Scally and the defense has their work cut out for them. But I got no doubt that we'll have a good plan, and it's just a matter of going out and executing. But they present problems. There's no doubt about it. They're one of the best offenses in the league.
2 more, Steve, DJ.
Coach, we didn't really get to ask you last week about him, but your thoughts on just Coach Prime and the job he's done there in Colorado?
Terrific job, and he has brought that program back into national prominence. They're sold out every week. They got great crowds there. What he did last year, had a terrific year last year. They're not where they want to be this year, I'm sure, but he has just injected all kinds of passion, energy, enthusiasm into the program, and that's who he is. He exudes that. I mean, with his personality and the way he goes about his business, and so can't say enough good things about what he's doing there.
Can you talk about Cincinnati's run defense? Because obviously you guys have an elite rushing attack.
Haven't really studied that yet. As I say every week in the press conference, I start with their O, and I get to the defense by about this evening. So.
Then in that case, switching gears.
Okay.
We're seeing coaches get let go with $49, $53 million of it. It seems crazy. Professionals.
Chicken feed to those big programs. Drop in the bucket. Anyway, what were you going to say?
just your thought if this is going to continue to escalate,
yes.
If there's a way to control it and slow it down?
I think as long as the NIL still exists, and you say you got the rev share, but the rev share is just a piece of the pie. That's it. I mean, there's many more resources and things that are available to the players at these blue blood schools than just the rev share. And when big boosters are pumping millions of dollars into rosters, they want results. It's more, pressure's on more so now than ever as far as needing immediate results. And if the boosters, if you got a guy that's giving you 40, 50 million bucks, he's going to have some say in what goes on. And if he's not happy with what's going on and he wants a change, most likely there's going to be a change. I think Coach Saban had some good, kind of that, along that same line about a week ago or several days ago, that was really accelerating coaches' shelf life. And so I don't see that changing unless there's a dramatic change in the structure of, college football and how the players are compensated and where it heads. I think as long as it's in the current climate, you're going to continue to see massive turnover like that, especially at the upper echelon schools. All right, the pizza's still here. Just making sure we didn't quit on you. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
All right, there you go, Coach Witt. We replay it every single Monday in case you miss it from the morning availability. It's a big week for Utah. Trying to capitalize off a little momentum gained over the weekend with an absolute curb stomping of the Colorado Buffaloes. Cincinnati rolls into town, as does College Game Day. It is another late kick. It will be an 8:15 kick. Our pregame coverage on Saturday afternoon with Porter will begin at about 4:15. He'll take you up for the pregame coverage, then over by our broadcast team, Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, and Stevenson Sylvester. Scott Mitchell joined us earlier today, and Bill Riley's going to join us to start the 4 o'clock hour. Caught up with Jason Batakiao from the Salt Lake Tribune. Of course, if you miss any of the sound, the website's always there at your disposal at ESPN700sports.com. We are out and about today, once again, at the Layton Hills Mall. UtahRVEvent.com is where you go. The sale has been extended, and more inventory is on the way. So due to the success, the RV manufacturers have sent more inventory to the Layton Hills Mall for this RV liquidation event. Repos, buybacks, rental returns, trade-ins, and more. Toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent trailers, and motorhomes. All priced to sell this week at blowout pricing. And every RV is prepped and includes battery and propane. So come on by and say hello here at the Layton Hills Mall. We're going to talk more Utes with Riles coming up. The World Series gets back at it tonight at 6 o'clock on Fox. Blue Jays, Dodgers deadlocked at 1 game apiece. And your Week 8 in the NFL will come to a conclusion tonight with a little Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs are a pretty healthy favorite, as Jaden Daniels will sit, and Marcus Mariota is going to get the start for the Commanders. That game will kick off at 6:15. Of course, can be seen on ABC and ESPN. Only one Monday night game tonight. A fun slate of NFL Sunday action. The New York Football Jets actually won a football game. 39-38 your final. Porter's Cowboys were smoked by the Denver Broncos, and the Colts continue to roll as well. So, final game of the week will be tonight, featuring the Commanders taking on the Chiefs at Arrowhead. All right, before we catch a break, to bring in Bill Riley, we catch up with our guy Leo from Seven Figures Funding. What's up, Leo? How are you, man?
Hey, doing well. How's it going?
Doing well. We appreciate your time. So, of course, every team wants to finish the fourth quarter strong. And obviously, that includes our friends that own small businesses. Leo, how can you help our small business owner listeners?
Yeah, great question. Hey, if you're a business owner and you're looking to finish the fourth quarter strong, maybe you need some money for inventory, equipment, whatever it is, you want to make 2026 your breakthrough year, we actually have some programs that just launched, 0% interest for the first 12 to 15 months, and you can use those for any business expense. Very, very simple process of getting pre-approved. Unlike your local bank that might have a hard inquiry on your credit, you can get pre-approved up to $150,000, 0% interest with a soft credit check.
And, of course, small business owners, people that want to start a side hustle, and people that want to launch a business. How can you help people that maybe have this idea floating around in their head but always think to themselves, I just don't have the cash to start my idea? How can you help them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very simple. They can just go to our website, which is the digit 7, sevenfigures.com. get a free pre-approval. You're just going to put your basic information. Your business, as you said, can be brand new. This is crazy. New businesses can get access to funding capital with a 0% interest rate. We have lines of credit. We have loans. And as soon as you fill out that app, just takes about 60 seconds. You'll look for a text message. Our team, led by the lovely Alyssa, will be reaching out, getting you scheduled with a one-on-one with our advisors to answer any questions that you might have about what you're pre-approved for. We also have tips and tactics to help you to be able to strengthen your business credit profile and be able to access that money and come in clutch in the fourth quarter here as we finish out these last couple months.
Leo, if I recall, last week you were offering a free course on credit and understanding credit. Is that offer still on the table?
Absolutely, Spence. Yeah, we want to eradicate disinformation related to credit once and for all so everybody can have the highest FICO score, save a lot of money, and get the money they need for their business. So we are giving away our Credit College platform free, lifetime access. We want you to share with your friends, family, especially your children, so that they can keep those high credit scores and pay a lot less in interest for the rest of their life.
Leo, I appreciate your time. Have an excellent week, and we'll chat soon. Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks so much.
All right, go to 7figures.com. That's the number 7, then figures.com. Give them a call at 833-801-5633. That's 833-801-5633. 833-801-5633. If you've been thinking about starting a side hustle, if you have an idea to launch a business but you need funds to do it, consider our friends at 7 Figures Funding. Go to 7figures.com for more information. All right, we are live today with our friends at the RV Show, once again at the Layton Hills Mall. It's a beautiful day outside. It's turned into a nice day after a chilly morning. And we are with our friends at Paris RV, and my buddy Dustin stops by once again. Dustin, how are you, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, we appreciate your time as always. So let's talk about the types of RVs you have to offer, because I'm not an expert on this.
Sure.
But it seems like you have some real top-end, large luxury RVs and all the way down to maybe, cheaper options. Let's talk about that scope.
Well, let's talk about the cheaper ones right off the gate. We have our light pull trailers. Those are great for everything from smaller trucks, the Colorados, that type stuff. We have a few of those to offer, but obviously the tent trailers and the foldable trailers like the A-liners, those are going to be better for those are great entry-level units, or if it's just you going up, those are great. We have a high wall here. It's a tent trailer, but it has a side slide and 2 full-size beds. It actually has a full-size bathroom enclosed inside the unit that folds down when the trailer comes down. Everything on it's power, and it has a lot of counter space and a slide for the bed. So you actually are getting a lot of the advantages of a full-size trailer without the price that comes to it. That's a great starting trailer for families who don't know what they want, that don't want to break the bank. And then we've got all the way up to our luxury units that we're sitting in actually right now, which is our toy hauler. This is a triple axle. It's made for full-time living. You got stone countertops, tile backsplashes, washer dryer hookups. This particular unit has 2 sets of washer dryer hookups, both in the back and in the bedroom area. 3 air conditioners and a huge garage with all-weather doors, and the back makes it into a patio that you can park up by a lake and go have your morning beverage of choice out there and just watch the sunrise and everything else. So I mean, we've got a little bit of everything for everyone. We got smaller toy haulers, we've got big toy haulers, we've got nice bumper pull units for families, bunk units, non-bunk units. We have couples trailers, just anything and everything you can think of we have up here at this youth show blowout. So.
It's a beautiful RV. We're broadcasting from inside of it today. Tell our listeners your experiences just with the RV life and how it's a nice way to see our country with people that you love.
Like I said earlier in the program, I grew up kind of sleeping in the back of a camper, and I think for me, I was also in the military, so that was just kind of par for the course. But when I started my own family and had started having kids, I have 5 girls, as you know. My wife doesn't like to sleep on the ground, and we need a bathroom access, especially with that many girls. And it's nice because it's like taking a small piece of your home with you. You don't have to pack everything up. All you have to do is load it with food and water, pretty much, and lock onto it and go. And I have a 5th wheel. I mean, it's so easy to lock onto my truck and then just start going. It's scary, but it creates those memories with your family that really just going out for an afternoon, whatever, just can't replicate. The evening campfires, the four wheeling trip. My kids love to four wheeler. That's like their favorite thing on earth. They four wheel all over southern Utah mostly, but they'd rather do that than go to Disneyland. It's absolutely insane.
Very nice. Before I set you loose, Dustin, for this hit, why now? Why this event? Why this week? What makes this event special?
Well, I always tell customers his prices are probably never going to be better. I mean, interest rates just came down. We have a lot to choose from in great price points. I mean, I've got everything down. I've got a $10,000 unit all the way up to over $100,000. We have something for you in every class. I just don't think it's going to get any better for, especially the way the uncertainty of our economy is going to be, than to buy right now. And right now we've got the blowout prices. We're trying to move these units. We're not making a lot on them. If we're making anything at all, we're our loss is definitely your gain is what we're doing up here at this blowout. So
very nice. Well, Dustin, good to see you. Come on by and say hi. We'd love to see you guys up here at the Layton Hills Mall, right off the freeway. It's very easy to find. ESPN 700 van is right out front, and it is the Paris RV, Utah RV event. They're blowing it out. They've extended it because of the success of the sale last week. So go to UtahRVEvent.com and come on by and stop by the Layton Hills Mall. We'll be here until 6 o'clock. We'll catch a break. Bringing the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, coming up on the other side of a Monday edition of The Drive right here on ESPN 700.
Bird Bicklin's going to keep it. He's got it. 45-50, 45-40, 35-30. Up the sideline he goes. He's going to go. There he goes. Touchdown. Touchdown. Bird Bicklin. 63 yards into the south end zone. And just like that, the true freshman electrifies Rice-Eccles Stadium.
The dulcet tones of one William Riley, the voice of the Utes, calling the action on Saturday night as Utah football dispatched of Colorado very easily. And now we look ahead to Cincinnati, and the aforementioned Bill Riley is our guest on a Monday afternoon. Bill, I'm broadcasting live inside an RV. Happy Monday. How are you?
What, is this 2 shows in a row you've been at an RV show?
Well, Riles, as we talked about last week, like whenever anybody comes up to you and they're like, hey, tell me about Spence, the first thing you say is like, huge RV guy. We know that, right?
He lives that RV life. There's no doubt about that. By the way, how about those Jets? J-E-T-S.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Take that, Woody Johnson.
Yep.
Take that.
Our first win of the season. At this point, I'm really just hoping we lose, all of our games so we can draft an actual franchise quarterback. But, Bill, for one day I will take it. Do your Chiefs get it done tonight at Arrowhead?
I think so. No Jaden Daniels, their best pass rusher out. Chiefs are playing pretty well. Arrowhead's tough on a Monday night. Yeah, I think the Chiefs probably take care of business tonight. But they've shown a little propensity this year to, kind of go all over themselves when they were supposed to win, see the Jacksonville game. But I feel pretty good about tonight.
Let me ask you this. Who's the best team in that division? Who's the best team in the AFC West this year?
I think right now, as much as it pains me to say, I think the Broncos are the best team. I think the Chiefs have the most upside. I think they're rounding into form. But Denver, Knicks, their defense is amazing. They've got good weapons, but Bo Nix has moments where you just kind of go, maybe you're good, maybe you're not so good. But they've got a really good defense and good weapons, and Peyton can coach. But, if it comes down to picking the quarterback and the head coach, I'll take Reed and Mahomes there. But, boy, they're good. They're good for sure. And I think the Chargers are pretty good, but they've got some injuries, and I don't know. They always seem to kind of get in their own way at some point in time in the season to the Chargers, and, well, the Raiders are just the Raiders.
Yes, indeed. The Raiders are just the Raiders. I still like your Chiefs. But the listeners want to hear the voice of the Utes talk about the Utes. So what does it say to you that for the second straight opportunity after getting God, they responded the way they did? Like that, I was on the sidelines, man. You were calling the action. That was an unfair fight. What does it say to you about that, the second time, their ability to bounce back the way they did?
It says to me, Spence, when they don't get in their own way and make mistakes, they're really, really good. Again, we're not going to go back and relitigate the BYU game. The Cougars won that game. They didn't make mistakes. They didn't get in their own way. They did what they needed to do. But when Utah doesn't do that, ASU's a good football team. Colorado, not quite so much, but they absolutely just took them to the woodshed. They're a really good football team when they don't kind of beat themselves with mistakes, turnovers, penalties, stuff like, and they didn't Saturday night. And really, that was the first time I can remember, Spence, all 3 phases being excellent. You've had some games where the offense was good, defense was okay, offense, defense, but the special teams were off the charts good. It was really a complete game. Again, the Colorado's not very good, but they're not bad either. They're not Oklahoma State bad, and they just beat the living hell out of the Buffs. So it shows me that when they are right and they are focused and they don't kind of step in it, they're really good, and I think they can play with anybody in the league.
Yeah, and I keep saying this because when you look at ESPN's advanced metrics, they like Utah better than BYU and better than most teams in the Big 12, if not all. The S&P Plus has Utah as the seventh-ranked team in the country, and the Football Power Index has Utah as the 11th-ranked team in the country. Only Tech is ranked higher in the Football Power Index, and Utah is the highest-ranked team in the S&P Plus. So the metrics, advanced metrics, actually, Bill, say Utah's like a top 10 team in the country. Does that jive with you? Do you think they're that good this year?
No, I don't think they're that good. But on given days when they don't get in their own way, they could be that good. I think there's kind of a conglomerate. I think the Big 12 has a lot of really good and no great. But to be fair, I'm not sure how many great teams there are in the country. I think Indiana's pretty darn good, and I think Ohio State's really good. But back to the Big 12, I think Utah is really good. But you've got to go out and do it on the field, and advanced metrics don't take into effect a lot of things that impact on the field sometimes. And I think Utah, in their two big games, has made enough mistakes to where it got in their way, and so they're not. But yeah, to your point, the metrics like them, and I think it's a really good football team. The problem is they've kind of just dug themselves a little bit of a hole now, and it's going to take a lot of winning by Utah and a lot of chaos in front of them to get them where they need to go.
Of course, the big story, we may have buried the lead, but young Bird Ficklin steps in for Devin, and my goodness, we had seen some moments from him throughout the course of the year, but most of his playing time had come maybe against lesser teams when the game was out of hand. And, to your point about Colorado, Saturday night felt a lot like the West Virginia game, but Colorado's better than West Virginia. I don't know how good they are, but I think they're better than West Virginia, and that's not saying a lot. But against, better competition when the job was his from snap one, that kid looked absolutely dialed in and dynamic with 291 overall yards and responsible for 3 touchdowns. So, of course, as the guy that gets some of the access that the rest of us don't, I'm sure you were expecting him to play well, but did he even exceed your expectations?
He did, Spence, and I, one thing we can't measure is, what's in the minds and what's in the hearts of players. But there was something happening Saturday night. You were on the field. You felt some of that energy. There was, from that first snap of the game with Ficklin at quarterback, when he handed off to Daniel Bray, who picked up like 13 or 14 yards. Then that second play, he goes 63. There was a different vibe about the offense. I don't know if that's Bird Ficklin. He ran it well. Maybe they were just wildly pissed off about what happened the week before, and they took it out on Colorado, the offensive line and everybody else. But there was a feeling and a vibe and a kind of a palpable energy in that building with the offense, especially with Ficklin running it, the defense. I heard Kyle Whittingham at a luncheon I was at today with him speak and say they blitzed more for Saturday night than they had in any other game that he has coached at the University of Utah in 20 years. Utah blitzed on more than 70% of the downs, which is more than they've ever blitzed in his time at Utah. Morgan Scalley just cut the guys loose, and they got after it. But to the offensive side of the football and Bird Ficklin, I don't know how you measure it. I don't know how you tell it. But there was certainly an energy and a vibe about that young man in the offense when he was running it.
So Scott joined us earlier, Scott Mitchell, your broadcast partner, and I asked him straight up, if it was your job to name the starting quarterback, who would you name? And he said Bird. He likes the way he thinks Bird Ficklin throws a better football than Devin Dampier. And, Devin's second in the conference in QBR. So I'm not trying to stir the pot or say there's a quarterback controversy, but what do you make of Scott, who played the position, preferring Bird at this point over Devin?
He's just favorable to lefties. Mitchell was a lefty quarterback. A lefty quarterback. No, I mean, believe me, I was in the booth with him for 3.5 hours. He really liked what he saw from Bird Ficklin. He likes the way the ball comes out of his hand. Bird wasn't real accurate. He was 6 of 16, but on some of those throws, those layered throws, the touchdown to Larry Simmons, the one up the sideline to J.J. Buchanan, he made a couple of nice throws, and he's got a real good bit of zip on it as well. So I know what Scott's talking about, because when we went to commercial and throughout that broadcast, he's on the Bird Ficklin bandwagon for sure. But to your point, Devin Dampier's also won games for this football team. He beat a really good Arizona State team a couple of weeks ago, and the metrics like Devin Dampier a lot too. Kyle Whittingham said at the luncheon today, he said, hey, if Devin Dampier's healthy enough to play, Devin Dampier's our starter. He's our guy. He's our leader.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be a change here as long as Devin is healthy. But there's a lot to like about Bird Ficklin.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and it's certainly a luxury to have two very good quarterbacks. It's interesting to consider the way, and I know you don't want to relitigate the BYU game, and neither do I, but it's just that one is going to sting for a long time, because I was talking about this earlier with Scott, and then we had Jason Patacchio. This is kind of an interesting season from my personal experience. Usually I have an opinion on a Utah football team, and I will change it over the course of the season based off results, based off injuries, certainly the past couple of years. But I continue to be with this Utah team where I was at to start the year. I think they're really good, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But if they do not make it to Arlington, this might, to me, Bill, feel a little bit like 2019, where I look back and say, man, 2025, they were stacked, but unfortunately just you can't stub your toe the way they have, because I still think it's a really good football team.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Spence. I mean, when you're Utah and you've got a good football team, your goal is to get to the conference championship game. Frankly, it's probably to win the conference championship game. And if you don't get to Dallas, and I think Utah's got an outstanding chance to get to 10-2. I mean, if they can get by Cincinnati, and I'm sure we'll talk about the Bearcats here in a minute, they've got winnable games. Baylor is down. Kansas State's not real good. Kansas got beat over the weekend. There's a very real possibility that Utah wins 5 in a row and closes out this season 10-2. But there's a good chance, too, that if they close out the season 10-2, they may still not get to Arlington because of those 2 losses. So, it could feel a little disappointing when you hit that first weekend in December. And if you're sitting there at 10-2 and 7-2 in conference play, and you're not in Arlington, then you're going to play that what-if game. And the Texas Tech game is not a what-if game for me. Utah hung with them. They kind of did their very best to kind of hang in there. But I think we know on that day, Texas Tech was the better football team. But to your point, and again, not to relitigate it too much, I think the BYU game is the one you might end up looking back on going, man, that was there for us to have, and we couldn't get it done.
Let me just ask you where you're at with BYU before we get to Cincinnati. I've got a couple of other things in that direction, but I'll tell you what, man, like 19-2 in their last 21, that's not fluky. 8-0, not fluky. 5-0 in conference, not fluky. But I'm watching that Iowa State game, and a ton of credit for BYU for hanging in. They're down 24-10. LJ lead. I'm like, man, they're cooked. And it was a confluence of execution from BYU, but like 4 or 5 unbelievably lucky moments for them as well. And it leaves you in this space where you're kind of like, I'm not being a hater, and I cheer for Kalani, but are they really good? Are they really lucky? Are they a bit of both?
I think they're a bit of both because they are good. You don't come back from 14 on the road without your best tailback and things without being pretty good. But, I mean, Rocco Becht, I don't know where he was throwing the ball. I mean, Latui is in that flat by himself, and he throws him that. And to me, you can talk about the pick six late or even the fumble that hit the guy or the punt that hit the guy's foot. But momentum switched in that game, Spence, when he threw the pick at the end of the first. They're going in to score. They're marching down the field, and he throws that pick, and BYU gets the field goal before halftime. Then they come out of the locker room and score. But I've said this repeatedly. A great skill set to have is not beating yourself. I mean, it is a great skill set to have. And BYU, for whatever reason, they don't seem to beat themselves with silly mistakes. And they didn't, they didn't execute great early in that game, but then they moved forward with it. And Bachmeier gets a little bit better every week. So they are a good football team, but they are certainly opportunistic with a little bit of There's got to be some four-leaf clovers or something down there growing in Provo too, because there's a little bit of luck riding on their side too. But that's not to take away. You don't, like you said, win 19 of 21, and they're the only undefeated team in the league right now. So you give them their flowers for that.
So, do you leave space for the following possibility? Because the reality is, if you're a Utah fan, you've got to suck it up and you have to cheer for BYU to beat Texas Tech. BYU's on a bye, okay, and I don't see 3 losses on BYU's schedule. They're just not going to – I would be stunned if that happened to them to close out the year. So BYU hits a bye, and then they're going to take on Tech on the road. They finish out with TCU, Cincinnati, UCF. Is it possible? Sure, because this league is weird and college football is bizarre. But – in attendant to that, Tech has to find one more loss. It's probably the best chance is probably this weekend at K-State because they close out with UCF and West Virginia. Is there a world where Tech gets to 3 losses, BYU stays clean or suffers 1 loss, Utah wins out, and we see a rematch of BYU-Utah in Arlington for the Big 12 championship?
That's a long shot for me. I will say this, though. There are 3 losses on BYU's schedule. Tech, TCU can score, and Cincinnati. UCF will not be a loss in Provo. But the next 3 are all losable games. BYU struggled at the end of last year. I'm not saying they're going to lose all 3, but there are 3. I see 3 losses there. Possibility of 3 losses. For Texas Tech, they've got to lose 2 more. I don't know that I see 2 losses. I don't think that they're going to lose to K-State this weekend. West Virginia, UCF to round it down, no. I'm telling you, a team that's sneaky, Spence, that could backdoor them their way in is Houston. Houston is they were solid last year, first year under Willie Fritz. They didn't have any quarterback play. They've only got 1 loss this year. That loss is to Texas Tech. They've got West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor left. Those could all be wins for Houston, in which case they would have 1 loss. We could be looking at a Texas Tech-Houston Big 12 championship game, a Houston BYU championship game, a Houston, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I would leave the possibility. And again, we've not even mentioned Cincinnati, who, by the way, is also undefeated in league play right now. So we can't overlook the Bearcats because Cincinnati, and I know we're going to segue into that, their only loss was to Nebraska. They lost with 34 seconds left in the game on the road at Arrowhead Stadium. Their quarterback threw his only interception of the year in the end zone as they were going in to score. So I think we'd be remiss if we left the Bearcats out of this thing too.
Yep, and they roll into town. Before we get to Cincinnati specifically, the combination of Fox Big Noon and Game Day, I think the Utes are 1-5 in their last 6 opportunities when the stage is at its biggest. And, due respect to Big Noon, Game Day is the standard. Game Day is the inside the NBA on TNT, and Big Noon has tried to kind of take that model and do their own thing, and they do a good job. But the original is the original. So this is a really cool opportunity. Any thoughts as to why, when the big stage presents itself, the Utes don't seem to meet the moment, at least recently?
I don't know that there's a corollary. I think they've played really good teams when they've come in. I think the last win was maybe the Cal game. Does that sound right? When they beat Cal and
sounds
Jared
right.
Goff
Yep.
back in 2015, but I think they're 0 for since. I think it's just been a confluence of some things that have gone on with Utah. They had some injuries a couple of years ago when they were here. There was obviously no Cam Rising. So no, I don't think that there's any direct corollary between the record and Game Day being here. I do know they like being here. And to your point, Big Noon was great, and Fox came in, and that was cool. But yeah, the gold standard is ESPN Game Day, and it's like when a big concert rolls into town of your favorite artist. They set it up, and everybody turns out, and they do it the right way. So it'll be fun to have them here.
So Cincinnati, to your point, I mean, they just deserve a ton of credit. And early on, we actually talked about it on the show. I think it was after the Iowa State win. It's like, okay, well, they looked really impressive. They hung 38, and this was before Iowa State lost both their cornerbacks. And they have passed every test. It was a dicey game against your Jayhawks. They really just survived against UCF. But 2 back-to-back blowout wins. Oklahoma State stinks, and maybe Baylor's not good. But they're clean, and Brennan Sorsby leads the conference in QBR. They're very well balanced. They don't do one thing or the other. They've got some good running backs, and it feels like they're very well coached. Utah's about a 7.5-point favorite. Give me your thoughts on what you think we'll see on Saturday night.
I was a little surprised, again, for entertainment purposes only, but I was a little surprised with Cincinnati, the way they played, that the line was quite that big. But I think there's some respect for what Utah does at home and obviously how they played last weekend. Cincinnati's good now. Sorsby is real. 20 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's also run for 400. We talk about Devin and Bird and these guys running. This guy's run for almost 500 yards already this year and 4 more touchdowns. And he's a big dude, too. He's 6'3", 235. So he's good. But to your point, they don't wow you. There's not a ton of All-Americans and guys like that on the roster. But they kind of play what Utah's done for a lot of years, kind of complementary football, to use a football coaching term. And they're a good team. I was talking to Gary Barnett last week, the old Colorado and Northwestern coach. He loves Cincinnati. He thinks they got a bunch of pros on their team and just likes the way they approach their business. And he said, this was before the Utah-Colorado game. He thought them coming in here be a hell of a game with Utah, and I think it will too. But I think this is a really good football team. And, it's amazing. They're 7-1 overall with the 1 loss to Nebraska at a neutral site. They just climbed into the polls this week. They're ranked just ahead of where Utah is. So I think people have kind of been sleeping on them, and I think that's kind of a little chip on their shoulder. You know what I mean? Utah used to have that a lot when they were coming up in the Pac-12. I think Cincinnati's kind of relishing the fact that nobody's talking about them, and I'm sure their coach, Scott Satterfield, will play up the fact that they're 7.5-point underdogs.
Give me a quick thought as we approach college hoops. I know we're football-centric, and there's a lot left to do in that space. But I love that it's AJ. I think it's going to take time. I will preach patience. This is going to be a crawl, walk, run scenario. There's a lot of work to do. But what's the buzz around the running Utes, Rouse? What are you hearing about the hoops?
I'm excited too. I was with at that same luncheon I was with Witt today. I was with Alex, and he's preaching the same thing. He said, "I'm here for the long haul." Alex is not using this job as a stepping stone. He wants this to be his job, his legacy. He wants to be here forever, and so he's taking the approach of building this thing from the ground up, building it slowly. He's not cutting any corners, not doing any short fixes, quick fixes. They're building this thing. And it is going to take some time. And he says that, and he knows it. He's not trying to overpromise and underdeliver with this thing. I'm just really curious to see how they, when they get everybody together and they get everybody healthy out there, what the rotations look like. Because they've got some pieces, Spence, but, I think that because they're installing a system a lot of these guys aren't familiar with. It's kind of Alex's system, and everybody's played somewhere else, and they're bringing everybody on board, creating the culture. Once they get a few games under their belt, and they'll open up next Monday against San Jose State, I want to see how these pieces start to kind of fit together, and I want to kind of see what Alex and Wes Wilcox's vision is with the program. So I'm like you, I'm excited, and I'm telling you people the same thing. Hey, give Alex a chance to build this thing. He's not doing any shortcuts here. He's wanting to build it the right way. But I want to see how these guys start to play. And they've got a manageable non-conference schedule. They've got a couple of good games with Iowa and Ole Miss and Washington in the non-conference. But then you throw in the conference, and that's a wagon. So I'm just going to take it kind of week by week and see how these guys kind of develop and see who kind of begins to click with one another in the rotations.
All right, my friend. Thanks for the time. Have a great week, and have a great call on Saturday. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Spence.
All right, Voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. I always appreciate his time. He'll be on the call Saturday night, 8:15 kick. Our pregame coverage begins at 4:15. And then Bill, Scott, and Sly will have you taken care of. We're live today at the Utah RV event at the Layton Hills Mall. And my guy Dustin stops by once again. Dustin, how are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic as always, man.
Are you a sports fan? I haven't even asked you that.
Yeah, I would consider myself a hardcore Utah fan at one time and a Denver fan at one time and a Jazz fan at one time. But I get so sick of politics, let's just put it that way, that I just kind of moved away from it. So I stay up on it. You know, I love it when the Utes and BYU win. Love it when Utes and BYU win, but I don't follow it as hardcore as I used to.
Well, you also have 5 girls. You're busy as a dad, and of course what you do here for Paris RV. Let's start with why now is the time. This event. Why should people come check out what you have going on with this event?
Paris RV, we've got some of the best prices. I mean, we want to be the number 1 volume dealer in the state of Utah. So normally we're priced about under anyone else for the most part. I mean, obviously there's an exception to every rule, but we try to be the best priced, period. And then you factor in the fact that we're trying to blow these units out. We're going to try to beat. I mean, you're just getting a killer deal right now going into the fall and winter season. And then when the spring, thaws or whatever, you've got your unit all ready to go. We'll winterize it for you for free of charge if you want to make a purchase now. And as soon as the snow thaws in the springtime, you're good to go. I took my daughters out in March this last year. We went up on the Boulder Mountain down in southern Utah, and we were able to camp in our unit, stay toasty warm the entire time we were there. So
very nice, very nice. And why the RV experience? For maybe someone who's on the fence and they've never considered it, what makes it such a unique and fun thing to do?
Well, I think the key word there is experience. I mean, I can remember the most miserable camping trips or miserable trips I've taken with my family. It's been in a hotel room, mostly because there's just not a lot of space. You're spending a lot of money. You don't have access to food in a lot of cases, so you're spending money in a restaurant. But an RV experience, whether it's pull trailer, tent trailer, motorhome, whatever, is an entirely different experience. You're not crunch for time. You can take your time. You can go out. Some of the most beautiful sunsets you'll ever see happen out in the mountain where nobody else is around, and you're not pressed for that time, and you don't feel rushed, I guess is the best way I can describe that. My kids like to four-wheel, so they'll spend the entire day out on four-wheelers while my wife and I are slow cooking food at the campfire. You just can't get those experiences. And I don't know what it is about the altitude or whatever, but there's just something about mountain cooked food that just tastes different that you just don't get, at a restaurant going to a theme park or something like that. So, and in Utah, like I've said it on other programs with you, is we have more national and state parks than any state in the union, and that is not even close. I mean, the entire state is an experience. So
finally, Dustin, before I say you lose, financing options for people that might have a little bit of a tight budget right now.
Yeah, I've got units down as low as $10,000, upwards of $100,000. So we have something for everyone. We have bunk houses, we have tent trailers that can sleep more. We have pop-ups. We have just about everything in everybody's budget. So if you're a first-time RVer, if you're trying to downside or upgrade, we've got something for you up here, and our finance team are really good to get people approved within their budget.
Awesome. Well, thanks for stopping by. You guys should stop by as well. We're up here at the Layton Hills Mall. It's right off the freeway. It's the Paris RV event. Go to UtahRVEvent.com for more information. We'll catch a break. Stormy Buonantony's going to join us from ESPN. She was in town for the game on Monday. Then we'll get into the 5 o'clock hour of the drive. We'll break down Utah football for the final 90 minutes of the program. So keep it right here on a Monday afternoon on ESPN 700. Oh, before we catch a break, we bring in Ryan from the Dish Pros. 801-424-DISH. Save money, switch to Dish. Internet solutions as well. What's going on, Ryan?
A great time to call. And, guys, this promotion with Dish's top package free for 3 months is going away in just a few days. And the other promotion is fantastic, actually. But honestly, like if you're a football fan, this is a good one to get into. Take advantage of this deal. Like, you sign up with Dish, you get a 2-year promotion. It's 2-year price. It's guaranteed. We'll get you, the price won't change, and we'll get you set up with Dish's top package free for the next 3 months. Plus, we'll get you Showtime, Paramount Plus, and the NFL Red Zone free for the next 4 months. But the time is running out. This offer is ending, and so we don't want you to miss. Call us up today. Take advantage of the deals. Listen, you got cable, DirecTV. It's gonna be a big difference. You're gonna save a lot of money. Those bills are going up. You saw the rate increase. It's happening. You're going to get another one. You got a price guarantee with Dish. You get a bigger DVR that auto records your games, auto hops your commercials. Call us up. We'll get you installed for free. Throw in dinner at JCW's. Plus, ask about internet. So this will help you out of that a big, beautiful bundle that you have. It's not really a beautiful thing. It's an ugly thing because what they do is they trap you into, you got to keep your service if you want to keep your price, because there is other options for internet, and we have those. I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours putting contracts together where I can offer you the internet services directly through us for the same price if you called them. But it's one phone call. We can lay out all the options, all the prices. We've got great tricks where all your internet-connected devices will just work on the new internet. You just pay less money. Even if you have fiber, call us up and ask and see what we can help you with. If you're overpaying more than $70 a month, or if your internet's giving you an issue, call us and we can help you. 424-DISH. The number's 801-424-3474.
All right, we'll catch a break. Stormy joins us coming up next on ESPN 700. We'll get to the 5 o'clock hour of the program. We have Monday Night Football on our station tonight. If you're looking for the World Series, you can find that on the Fan. Our next guest was in town over the weekend. It was very nice to meet her. As she was doing her job, I annoyed her to shake her hand. Stormy Batatoni on a Monday afternoon. Hello, Stormy. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Yeah, it was nice to finally meet in person. I know I've come on the show in the past, but to actually shake hands and say hi, I just apologize. I was a little bit distracted trying to flag down Kyle Whittingham for confirmation of the starting quarterback at warm-ups while you were over there.
No, I apologize for annoying you while you were trying to do your job. I noticed that Coach Witt stopped and said something to you pregame. Would you mind sharing the information that he gave you?
Yeah, so I had asked Coach Whittingham prior to coming out for the pregame warm-ups if he had known at that point who was going to be QB1 for the day, because I know in the past they try to make those decisions on Friday. He said it was a true game-time decision. And then when they came back out pre-kick, he just grabbed me real quick and said, thought it would be it's Bird, and that was about the consistency of it, because he did already tell us earlier in the week how much confidence he had in the true freshman if that were to be the case, and obviously he came out there and balled out and did the job.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And, you know, this is the second time, Stormy, that Utah has been coming off a loss, and the second time they just absolutely smoked the opponent. What does that say to you about this team? Of course, you would prefer not to bounce back after a loss, but they lose to Tech, they smoke West Virginia, they lose to BYU, and they really took it to Colorado. What does that say to you about this group?
Yeah, they're a resilient group. There's no question about it. And I feel for the Utes and Utah fans the way that they lost that game at BYU as well, because there were so many opportunities for them to close it out. But for there to be absolutely no holy war hangover, I was extremely impressed, especially coming against an opponent like Colorado that did just have a bye and a full additional week to prepare. The week prior to that, they took on an Iowa State team that was their best game of the season by far for their starting quarterback, Caden Salter. And knowing all of those elements around the game, and then to come out from, what was it, play number 2 of the offense where Bird Thicklin just runs wild for the long touchdown, 63-yard score, and it was never a game after that. And I think it says a lot about the resilience of this team to come back and be able to get off the wall and know that their season's not over, know that there's still so much more to play for, and that they're as capable as anyone of getting there if they can handle business the rest of the way and have a couple other flip-ups for opposing teams in the Big 12, which can happen. And we've seen it happen year after year. This conference, there is so much potential for parity in it. So Utah fans should, I think, be excited to know, no matter who is in at quarterback, if it's Devin Dampier, if it's Bird Thicklin, that somebody's going to be able to operate that offense efficiently. They run the ball as well as anybody in all of college football, and that defense can be suffocating when they want to be, with Morgan Scalley running the ship. So I think that there's a lot to take away from that game, and they just have to try to be able to push it forward now against the Cincinnati team that's rolling, and all of the pressure that comes with a college game day experience around the game coming up.
I know you've been here before, but I think our listeners are always interested at the opinion of outsiders when they come in to Salt Lake City to cover a game the way that you do for ESPN. I'd be interested, and I'm sure my listeners would as well, to hear your opinion about the Rice-Eccles Stadium experience, the musts, everything that kind of encapsulates game day at Utah.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because I feel like every opportunity I have, I am telling people that Rice-Eccles is one of the most underrated college football venues in the entire sport. That building gets freaking loud. It's awesome, and I love that you guys show up. There's something about Rice-Eccles at night that is special, and that home record up until last year, and I know obviously with the will he, won't he, Cam Rising experience that there was last year, it wasn't the season anybody wanted to have, and the home field advantage, at least in terms of wins and losses, dissipated a little bit over the last year. But the record was what it was for so many years, in large part because of what that venue can help do to energize your team as you go. So I love the game day experience. I love the staff and everybody that works around the football program and make it such an enjoyable week every time I get to cover a game.
Yeah, I would be curious because you referenced the BYU game, and of course, our listeners aren't thrilled to talk about that loss. Now that it's in the rear view, but I like to ask, guests like you as well, what your understanding is of that rivalry. And since we haven't spoken to you since BYU was able to get it done against Utah, have you ever experienced a holy war? And when I just say BYU Utah holy war, what comes to your mind, Stormy?
Yes, I actually had the pleasure of being on the call for the game last year, and I know I say pleasure that Utah fans are not going to like that I said that in response to the results from last year either, but it was one of those games going into it, I remember last season, where even though it had been a tough year for the Utes, and BYU at that point was on this crazy run and they were having such a great season, that you still knew it was going to be a back-and-forth chaotic game, that anything could happen, and it was down to the wire because you throw the records out in a rivalry like that. There's so much cross-pollination between the rosters, too, of guys who either committed to one side and ended up going to the other or vice versa, the coaching staffs, the Kyle Whittingham of it all, right? And the lineage that his family has had in the rivalry for decades, and obviously his past with BYU. And so you know that this is a rivalry that runs deep, that it means so much to everyone in the community. And I know there's still some officiating things that people are upset about from last year specifically, and you wish things would have gone differently this year. But that rivalry is awesome. And so something that I do throughout the course of my career is I keep my press badges from games that are of significance to me, and I have like a Post-it note on the back of them for what the game is, the date, and why there is something significant about that game. And that is one that I saved because it was my first Holy War, and it was so awesome to be a part of.
How many jobs do you have, Stormy? I feel like you are a busy person. Is that accurate?
Thank you. Yes, I have a few. In addition to my responsibilities as a college football sideline reporter with ESPN, I also host a sports betting radio show on Sirius XM that is Monday through Friday. I do my games on Saturday, and then I turn around immediately following the game to host a Sunday morning NFL pregame show. And I do professional hockey coverage as well. I cover the NHL for ESPN starting last season. So there's a few irons in the fire, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Love it. No, and you're very good at what you do, so keep up the good work. We've been talking about kind of the same topic with some guests today, because when you look at your advanced metrics, the ESPN advanced metrics, when it's FPI or Bill Conley's S&P Plus, FPI has Utah at 11, S&P Plus has Utah at 7. So the two losses are what they are, and you can't run from it. And so the AP says differently, the coaches poll says differently, but if you believe the advanced metrics, it says Utah's about a top 10 team in the country. Now that you've seen them up close, do you think that's accurate?
I think that they are very formidable. I'm not great with putting numbers to it. I think they definitely deserve to be in the top 25, and I'm glad they finally have that little number next to their name again because it is significant. But yeah, I know at least from the eye test and what I see with this run game and what I see with this defense and the ability to take down quarterbacks, what a special season John Henry Daly is having. That was actually something with the Colorado game that against one of the Colorado offensive linemen, Jordan Seaton, who's this projected first-round pick in the future for his career, we were like, what's that matchup going to be like? And Utah dominated it throughout the course of the game. They are very special, and it really makes me sad knowing that Devin Dampier wasn't at his best for that Texas Tech game back in September, because if he was at full health and I think had the ability to do things that he wanted to do, then maybe that would have been a closer game in the second half and potentially a different result. I don't know. And you have the woulda, shoulda, coulda about the game with BYU as well. And so that's why I say this game with Cincinnati is critical, because if you can win this game You have very winnable games at Baylor, against Kansas State, and Kansas to close out the season. If you win out and Texas Tech slips up again like they did against ASU, and Will Hammond, now their backup quarterback, he's done for the year, it seems. I know Baron Morton is back healthy, but how healthy is he? We'll see. I mean, there's opportunity in the Big 12, and I think this Utah Utes team is excellent. They're as well coached as anybody, which I know is a cliche, but watching this team and knowing Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley and that whole group, it's true. It's sometimes cliches are there because they're true and because they're real. That I'm hopeful for you guys. Like, I'm cheering on the Utes. I want to see what you guys can do, and if you can get an opportunity to go to Arlington.
Well, it would be fun. There's still a lot of football left to be played and so many scenarios on the table. Stormy, thank you for your time. Again, great to meet you Saturday night. Safe travels and be well, okay?
Appreciate you. Back at you. Have a great day.
All right, Stormy Bonatoni, a sideline reporter for ESPN's college football coverage. She was in town on Saturday. I definitely annoyed her as she was getting ready to try to interview Kyle, but I had never met her before, so appreciate her time today. All right, we're live today. Come on out and say hi. If you're driving around, if you're up north, shout out to my listeners up north here in Layton. We're at the Layton Hills Mall. It's the Utah RV event. You can go to UtahRVEvent.com. It's our friends here at Paris RV. The sale has been extended. They have more inventory delivered. So come on by the Layton Hills Mall for this RV liquidation event. They've got repos, buybacks, rental returns, and trade-ins. Toy haulers, I don't know, that one's been hard for me today. That's weird. Just a Monday. Toy haulers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent trailers, and motorhomes, all priced to sell at this blowout event pricing. And every RV is prepped and includes a battery and propane. Before we catch a break and get to the 5 o'clock hour of the program, we catch up one more time with my guy Dustin, live in Layton. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, losing track of time, I'll tell you that much.
No, all good, all good. We're about to get to the 5 o'clock hour, so a new portion of listenership here. Why now? Why is this event the event to come to if you're interested in purchasing an RV?
Well, like I said earlier, Paris RV, we're trying to be the number one dealer in the state of Utah, so we're aggressively priced normally throughout the year. Right now, we're blowing these things out at our rock bottom prices. So if you see a unit, make us an offer. We'll entertain everything, but right now, you're looking at getting the best the deal for your money. Certainly, we'll winterize it for you, and as soon as that ground thaws next year, you have a camper ready to go.
So we've talked about financing, but of course, I'm sure there are listeners that are interested, but in the back of their minds probably don't think they can afford it. How do you work with people to get the right financing options?
Well, generally speaking, every $10,000 you spend, you're looking at about $100 to $125 payment. So we have everything from $10,000 all the way up to $150,000 depending on the unit that you're looking at. We have luxury units, we have family units, we have entry-level units, we have couples trailers. So there's a little bit for everyone out there. But another thing is you can get, with the prices we've got today, the way I started RVing back in the day, I started with a small unit, and now I'm up to a full bunkhouse fifth wheel. And I don't know if I'll ever get rid of it because it works for my entire family. But you don't necessarily go from zero to the top of the line. So we have everything for you to consider, and at a price point that's not going to break the bank.
Dustin, you're the man. It's been fun to be out here. We'll chat again, okay? Come on out and say hello up here at the Layton Hills Mall. It's the Utah RV event. If you want to get some information prior to rolling up here, go to UtahRVEvent.com. Just check out the website. The sale has been extended. More inventory has been delivered. All right, 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. The 5 o'clock hour of the program comes right next right here on ESPN 700.